Yeah, let's take a look at the starting lineup, Steve. And the top 10 are a who's who of who's fast today at Homestead. Bubba Wallace on the outside of row number 1, fastest in practice, second in qualifying. He'll look to be good this afternoon. And down on the bottom there, 10th, his good buddy Brian Blaney. A lot of people in the garage area this weekend have said this is the car to beat this weekend. We shall see by the end of the day, Kim.
Hey, let's go a little further back in the field. The lowest starting of the 8 playoff drivers, Chris Buescher there in the 17th starting position. He's 23 points below the cut line, but there is still so much fight in this team. They told me while others have counted them out, they are still here to win a championship. Alongside him, you see 2-time Miami winner Kyle Busch. Kyle has finished top 10 in the last 8 races here. Marty, that's the longest active streak.
Well, Kim, as Rick mentioned, today's race is called the Forever 400 in honor of the retiring Kevin Harvick. Harvick won his Cup Series championship at Miami in 2014, so the track gave him the rights to pick all of the pre-race dignitaries. Harvick's crew chief Rodney Childers and his family gave the command to start the engines this afternoon, and Harvick picked NASCAR Vice Chairman Mike Helton to wave the green flag. Harvick's Cup career quickly winding down, just 3 races left. So Dale Jr., based on your experience in the Xfinity Series race yesterday, how could the sunset affect the drivers today?
Well, right now we've got overcast conditions, and the drivers are going to hope that that persists throughout the day. We've seen the sun come in and out throughout the morning, but when that sun is in your eyes, not only is it tough to understand your entry point into turn 1, trying to get down in the corner, knowing where to lift. If you're wanting to run that wall, how can you tell where it's at with the sun in your eyes? Plus, on pit road, we've seen a lot of problems here trying to get on pit road. Drivers not being able to see their pit box, as we see Mark Truex Jr. getting spun around in his box last year. So anything can happen here on this racetrack when the sun's in your eyes. You got to be on top of your game. You got to have that windshield covered just right so that sun's not bothering you off into turn 1.
Thanks, Junior. And up front, we saw him earlier, but Mr. 305, who is now Mr. Worldwide, Pitbull, is the honorary pace car rider. He is inside there. And congratulations to him. Just dropped his most recent album last week, I believe, Trackhouse.
And you hear him with the drivers, with Jeff. I mean, he can give me a pep talk anytime. Yes. My man comes in energized and on fire.
I like rapido. He was really fired up when he was chatting with those guys. So a good time. And how about another pep talk? This one from the 45 team.
Do that same thing all day. We'll be in good shape. Ready? Let's go have fun, guys. Great track for us. Car's got speed. Stu would be no best. Let's go out there and have fun.
Go out, have fun. Hamburglar on the hood of the 45 of Tyler Reddick.
Yeah, Grimace right in front. Some popular paint schemes. Good-looking cars. We talk about different marketing and ways to do it. 2 great-looking cars from 2311. We'll see if they are as fast as they look.
You got to be fast if you're the Hamburglar. And Grimace. We've seen great things already this weekend out of Bubba Wallace. Can he continue that trend as we get ready for the green flag? It's the second race of the round of 8. An opportunity to lock themselves into the championship 4. There's Mike Helton waving the green flag.
William Byron right away jumps out of line, 3 wide in the 3rd row.
Quickly, we see Bubba Wallace jumping out front. Martin Truex Jr. did not have the start he was hoping for. Now to the bottom of the racetrack. He challenges for the lead. Lap number 1, a drag race to the line, and it looks like Martin Truex Jr. will lead the first lap.
We talk so much about how the high lane is an advantage here, but that's a little later in the run. You see right now with the newer tires, both Martin Truex and Bubba Wallace running lower on the racetrack.
Bubba has 2 career wins, 1 at Talladega, 1 at Kansas. Kansas, he was dominant, and that's a 1.5-mile racetrack. A 1.5 miles, the distance of Homestead-Miami Speedway as well.
And why the shape is a little different, because it has kind of that D-shaped front stretch. The surface is remarkably the same. You would think Kansas and Miami, maybe the asphalts would be different, but they really wear and they abuse the Goodyear tires. The cars get harder to drive as they run.
You can see right now what Truex is trying to do. He's really trying to overdrive the entry of the corner, beat Bubba Wallace to the center so he can slide up in front of him, but Bubba's not letting it happen. Bubba drives in with a lot of speed, is able to stay door to door to Martin, and that keeps Martin pinched off. He's got to turn the steering wheel a great deal, which means he can't go back to the throttle like he wants to. Bubba on that outside lane, he's able to go back to the throttle and carry that momentum.
Top two have separated themselves by half a second. Back to Brad Keselowski running third, Tyler Reddick fourth, and Ryan Blaney now to fifth.
This is an impressive run by Bubba Wallace. Remember, he didn't run this race a year ago. He was suspended after an altercation with Kyle Larson at Las Vegas back in 2022. He was suspended one race. That was Miami. He was reminded by his friend Ryan Blaney on social media this week. Told him, I hope you enjoyed Miami. It's been a couple of years, right? A good ribbing back and forth.
Little jab there thrown in as Bubba Wallace has cleared that 19. Now out in front.
Now it's a race to the top, right? Who feels like the track is ready? Brad Keselowski already on the boards. Now he has nothing to lose. He is not in the playoffs any longer. If he gets into trouble, hits the wall, it was a bad day, but not a loss of a championship. He's willing to be a little more of a gambler early in the race.
There comes Martin Truex Jr. again fighting to the inside. He'll try to take that lead back. Bubba Wallace now has led 4 of the 5 laps complete as Martin's going to take the top spot. And as he drifts up the racetrack, that opens the door once again for the 23.
What a view right on the front splitter. Brought to you by Toyota. That's the right front corner of that 19 car. Gives you just such a great view of the surface.
Jeff, how do you pass? We're seeing Martin have a difficult time getting by Bubba Wallace as Keselowski has got to his back bumper now.
Well, that's exactly what drivers love about this racetrack. You can see Keselowski, we saw him on the top, but now to make a pass, he's got to go to the bottom. He's got to try something different. And that's what happens here all day long is you can't just run one line. If you're going to make a pass, you've got to find a way to go underneath them, and that means you're going to have to change your driving style. You cannot drive into the corner. You got to lift in different places. You got to go back to the throttle in different places, depending on which line you're running.
Playoff drivers on the left side of your screen will have the yellow line underneath their names. That's why we see Martin Truex Jr., Tyler Reddick, William Byron, all with yellow lines underneath their names on the scoring pylon.
Blaney in that bright yellow 12. You heard it earlier in the broadcast, kind of the talk of the garage in practice. Looked really good on lap times. The 5 of Kyle Larson also looked good. The big difference was Larson was really committed to the top, where the 12 moved around the racetrack. That's what I think what everybody was talking about. Not only speed, but a little bit of versatility.
Tires get worn away very quickly here too, Steve. Only 7 laps in. This is the 8th lap complete, and already lap times have fallen off a whole second.
Yeah, a whole second. So this first stage is 80 laps. The fuel run is in the mid-60s. Math would say you want to pit right at lap 40. It seems more recently that early pitting before that halfway mark has been an advantage. So we might see green flag pit stops as early as lap 32 to 35. We'll just have to wait and see who decides to start that trend.
Let's go back and take a look at the 21 and 14 here. Harrison Burton on the outside in the 21, and Chase Briscoe in the 14 right up against that left rear quarter panel.
Yeah, we're going to see that all day long. You know, 3 wide, 4 wide, trying to make passes. That's Homestead.
So many different lines. That's the interesting thing as we see them go through the turns. You can go from the white line all the way up to the wall and utilize all the real estate.
One thing too, Steve, you know, we talked about the tire fall off. It is cooler today. Yesterday in practice, it was much hotter. We actually saw even more tire fall off on speed yesterday than today. So whose car is good today? Who made the right adjustments knowing it was going to be much cloudier today than yesterday?
And the other thing is how hard do you run early? These tires kind of have a life cycle. You know, your rental car or your car at home, you kind of have that oil life remaining in a percentage. Think about that for the tires. And if you run hard as that car will go, you take life out of that tire quicker. If you settle in and take a deep breath and really don't abuse the tires early, you can extend the life cycle of those tires and have a little bit more grip longer. I say that because the 23 and the 19 seem to have been side by side for almost the entire 10 laps of this race.
Shorter way around is right along the white line for Martin Truex Jr. Can he make it work this time to try to slide up in front of the 23? He completes the pass, but what will the momentum do for the 23 down the backstretch?
Well, that's the pass you're going to see at Homestead. A little bit of a slide job where you just overdrive the entry, slide up in front of the car that you're trying to pass. Now, he may get underneath you, and you're okay with that because now you're on the outside lane and you can pinch him off and complete the pass. Even if it takes a full lap, you've gotten the right side of the racetrack on him. See William Byron drives in a corner really deep, hoping to slide up in front of Brad Keselowski.
I think that he probably stayed low in that particular corner to try to avoid the wake of the 23 in front of him. If your car's free enough, you can actually make that bottom work. But you see, Jeff, to your point, the momentum that he lost on the straightaway, the 6 able to go back by on the inside.
Byron trying the high line now as he has caught up to the back bumper of the 6 of Keselowski, who has caught the 23 of Bubba Wallace. It's Martin Truex Jr. who's out front. Wallace has led 9 laps already. It is the forever 400 for Kevin Harvick at his final Homestead-Miami race. Verizon Frontline is the advanced network for first responders. Today, Verizon honored the members of the American Medical Response Safety Team, Baptist Health, Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles, Florida Highway Patrol, Florida Power and Light, Next Era Energy, Homestead Air Reserve Base, Homestead-Miami Speedway Track Services Safety Team, Homestead Police Department, and Miami-Dade Fire Rescue. Please join Verizon in thanking first responders for all they do for us every day. Martin Truex Jr. now has the 24 of William Byron fighting him for the lead here at Homestead-Miami. As Byron making the move to the inside.
Yeah, he's using that bottom groove, and Saw this a little bit yesterday in the Xfinity race. Several cars able to work the bottom of the racetrack, even down here in 3 and 4, where we've seen the top of 3 and 4 be dominant. The 24 making a little bit of ground, at least maintaining right there. Going to be able to clear the 19. A car that can work on the bottom of this racetrack is a pretty special thing. You rarely see it. You see a lot of cars be able to go find speed against the wall. Not everyone can run that bottom and make it work.
Surprisingly, as we had watched Bubba Wallace get out there and run and lead 9 laps, he has fallen all the way back to 7th.
Yeah, it looked like that car was having a little grip issue with the back. Saw that back moving around. Let's see if we can ride on board here with Denny Hamlin, the Coca-Cola cam on the roof of this 11 car. See Denny get a little bit tight right there in the wake of the 23, having to be patient on the throttle, losing a little bit of time to Bubba. Don't really see any real problems with the 23 right there, but the back end of that car before we went to commercial, a little bit of movement.
Well, the other thing to think about and remember about this racetrack is it is not uncommon to see a car run really well early and then struggle late, or vice versa. We've seen cars late in runs be massively faster than others, and that's just that setups, that's driver style. A lot of things can influence that.
You can definitely start with very low air pressures, and that's going to cost you a little speed firing off, but really will help that car on the long run. If you want to fire off faster, you put a little bit of air in the tires. We're talking a quarter pound, half a pound to get the car to take off better on restarts, but you're going to give a little bit of time, lap time back on the long run. As we're watching this 19 car struggling, losing a few more spots here. Brad Keselowski gets by. Here's Larson on the bottom of the racetrack.
As we've gone now 22 laps, they've fallen off almost 3 seconds now a lap. So handling such a huge issue here as these tires continue to wear away. And the furthest back of the playoff drivers running is Buescher, and he's all the way back at 27th, Kim.
That's right, and right now that car has no maneuverability. He said he can't run anywhere except for the bottom. The other thing that was concerning to crew chief Scott Graves and this team headed into this race was their fire-off speed. He felt like that was going to be their biggest struggle, is finding that balance between fire-off speed and then speed and balance over the long run. So, Steve, when you hear your driver complaining about fire-off speed, what can you do without hurting that long run?
Well, that's the challenge, right? Because a car would take off better if you started with more air pressure, but starts with more, they balloon up, and it would hurt you on the back end. So that's not really a great option. When I hear fire-off speed, I really want to know why. Is it front grip, rear grip, or overall grip? I need to know more than just we're not good early in a run. That might kind of unlock the key to what I would adjust. The other thing I would do is look at my teammate. Brad Keselowski's running second in that 6 car. RFK, I think, as a 2-car organization, all year long has been as similar on the racetrack as any team, and yet here we are in the playoffs. Brad is second, Buescher 27th. We really haven't seen that out of the organization all year.
Yeah, Chris Buescher and that team, when the playoffs have started, they just have not been able to bring the speed that they were earlier in the playoffs. We talked about it in the pre-race, guys. They're going to have to find a way if they're going to advance.
25 laps complete on lap 26. Steve, you mentioned around lap 40, those green flag pit stops could be starting. Saturday, it's Big Ten football on NBC and Peacock. The undefeated Ohio State Buckeyes will head to Camp Randall Stadium in Madison, Wisconsin to face the Badgers. Coverage beginning at 7 p.m. Eastern on NBC and Peacock. Here comes Saturday night. Kim, pit stops underway.
Kyle Busch, the first to make it to pit road under green flag conditions. He said he built tight at the 3/4 mark, especially in turns 3 and 4. You saw those 4 fresh Goodyear tires, Sunoco fuel.
Those 4 fresh tires are going to be a huge advantage, 2 or 3 seconds a lap. So this should instantly generate some concern by the rest of the field. I expect everybody to come in a 2 or 3 lap window as we see Byron right here continue to lead Keselowski. Now we have the 3-car Austin Dillon on pit road as well, and it's going to open up the funnel. Busy, busy, busy on pit road. As we see Brad head to the bottom of the racetrack, wouldn't surprise him if he's coming to pit road. Yeah, there you go. He's slowing down. Hard left-hand turn. Shows you just how tough it is to get on this pit road, Kim.
And Kevin Harvick coming down pit road. The one word, tight on the 4 machine of Kevin Harvick. You saw Chase Elliott also making a stop, Dave.
Kyle Larson, good run so far. I can't believe too much rear grip is a problem, but Kyle says it is. The car is too tight when he runs up against the wall. That's where you make the speed. As for Ryan Blaney, he's struggling on entry up by the wall. Tight center, struggling going through the throttle, Marty.
Martin Truex Jr. led 10 early laps, Dave. Clearly a very good short run car. And because they're on the pole, he gets that #1 pit stall. Has to work around John Hunter Nemechek. He said his biggest issue, little free on exit. Brad Keselowski very happy with the handling of his car. He said it, quote, took off great and held on, Kim.
And for William Byron, he said just a little tight center, snappy, free off. They will make a slight air pressure adjustment on those Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel.
Called it, Steve. Once somebody opens that gate, they continue to flow down to pit road. Marty.
Yeah, Rick, you just cannot afford not to have those fresh Goodyear tires. Christopher Bell saying the car still too tight. That was the condition they had yesterday, and also said at the end of the run he was starting to lose his exit as well. Bell was hanging around the 10th position for that entire run. Tyler Reddick is coming down pit road as well, and Reddick saying the car held on very good for him on that run, Rick. As longer they went, that 45 got better.
You see what 1 lap is worth on the racetrack. The 24 of William Byron rejoining the racing, while the 5 of Larson and the 6 of Keselowski, both after service, rejoining the field. This should cycle Brad Keselowski to the lead, Kyle Larson to 2nd, Byron to 3rd.
Marty.
Here comes Tyler Reddick down pit road, and he said the car was a little bit loose to start, but the longer they ran, it came to him, and he said it feels really good against the wall. Just wanted a little bit more lateral grip for the end of that run.
You see on the left side, guys continue to run. Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, who had to start in the back in a backup car. Eric Jones. So the theory is here, if you're the 11, you don't want to come right away. Even though you know you're going to lose time to new tires, you're going to run a little bit closer to halfway, try to get the equal amount out of both sets. So if there's no yellow, Rick, they hope to make time back up on the second half of this run, closer to the end of the stage.
This is like the MO of the 11th car team. They're always the ones that are going to run a little bit longer and risk, you know, staying out there and hoping that yellow might come before they pit, or that it would go green for that long run to that advantage you're talking about, Steve. They do this every week.
I think they found confidence in it. I think it's Denny's signature. He likes, you know, being the guy that has tires at the end of it. And I think that's when it works. You have to call a race. It suits kind of the signature, right? It's like any other sport. If you have a football team that's great at running the ball, you don't call passes every time. Well, if you have a race car driver like Denny who likes being kind of on his own system, his own island, call the race that way. So I expect you see lap 38. I would bet they come right on lap 40, dead in the middle. Let the math predict when they should come. Now the problem is you do lose some time on the racetrack, Rick, so he's going to come back out and be in traffic. It's going to be all how efficient he can be when he rejoins.
And while he's staying out on the racetrack, that's trapping a lot of cars a lap down. There's only 10 cars currently scored on the lead lap. As you mentioned, there are a few that still need to come to pit road.
Well, you're going to see the speed difference right here on board with Denny Hamlin. Well, it's going to be very quickly the one of Ross Chastain is going to show up to your left, because he's already come by and taken his new tires right there. Look at that, Ross Chastain. That's the difference. Watch how small that one car gets on corner exit. He doesn't even, they look like there are 2 different class of racing cars, right? Christopher Bell as well. That's the tire difference. We talk about seconds, you know, laps how much slower you run. But this is a great visual of just how much faster new tires are.
Over 2 seconds right now as far as lap times between Hamlin and Keselowski. Keselowski came on lap 32, 4 fresh tires. Hamlin still out there on the tires they started the race on. Keselowski all the way up to 3rd.
Fifth half, you're clear. You are clear.
Steve, you called it.
So this time, so now drivers, you're going to get your brake bias correct. I assume you're going to enter at the bottom down here, Junior, right? If you're going to run, hand out the window, letting the cars behind you know you're coming.
Tend to be a little bit conservative on these early stops, especially under green flag, but we know Denny Hamlin, he pushes the limit.
Now.
Really clean entry, though. Obviously not even close to sliding the tires, not even close to missing pit road.
Crew Chief Chris Gabehart liked Steve's math. He told his driver, we're going to split it in half and we're going to learn early. Denny Hamlin has liked his race car. You saw him able to run the line that he likes, not right up against the wall, but a little bit down from that. So far, good speed. 4 Goodyear tires and fuel. Marty?
Dave, Joey Logano, and Paul Wolf making the same exact call as the 11 team. They're in a backup car today and had to start at the back of the field after a crash in practice yesterday. And Paul Wolf told me this morning this was on the offering to split this stage in half. We'll see if this fresh Goodyear rubber will help Logano and maybe make up all that time he lost at the end of that run.
Give you an idea of what running long does. You see in the upper right-hand side of your screen, the 6 of Brad Keselowski nearing the start-finish line, the 11 of Denny Hamlin halfway down the back straightaway. That's a half a lap behind. Before the pit cycle started, Denny was running in the 7th position, about 5 seconds back. Now he's going to be about 17 to 18 seconds back. Now his tires are a little fresher, so he'll gain in on Brad. The question is, does he gain the whole rest of this run, right? 39 laps to go. If he can get through traffic and use the fresh tire, it's going to be interesting to see where the stage finishes. Does he get all the way back to 7th, or does he climb higher than that?
You're looking how it nets out. The guys who came early as opposed to the guys who come late, how do they net out when they're into this stage? Comes as far as the green and white checkered flag.
So now with pit stops done, now it's back to racing, guys, right? And what kind of adjustments you made and how much better your car is driving.
Watching this 19 at Truex, let's see if they made improvements on this car. He was losing a couple spots since the race began. He's got Reddick right on the fence behind him. Reddick trying to use that higher line to gain a little bit of ground down the back straightaway. The big bump right here that's developed on the entry to turn 3 over the tunnel. And then some bumps as well. Right through there, you see a little bit of content in the racetrack. If your car's tight through that, you'll slide the nose into the wall. If you're losing rear grip and you go across them bumps, it just continues to swing the back. A lot of new content, or small content, becoming a big problem in this racetrack as it continues to age over the years.
So Keselowski out in front by 1.1 seconds over Larson. As we go back a little bit further and look at playoff drivers, the 20 of Bell running in the 8th position. He's about 12 seconds behind, Marty.
He's been in the back half of the top 10 for pretty much the entire day, Rick. So when we all sat down with Christopher Bell at the beginning of the playoffs, we asked him, what tracks do you like and what are you worried about? He quickly answered, I'm worried about Miami, which is strange because Christopher Bell is known to be able to run the high line so well. I asked his crew chief Adam Stevens this morning, why did he say Miami is a problem for him? Stevens told me, you run Miami in the high line way different than anywhere else. And Junior, I'm curious, and in your career, you found that to be true as well. Entering the corner just like Christopher Bell did right there against the wall, way different than you would run the high line anywhere else.
Yeah, I got a text from Kyle Larson this week that said, hey man, to make the high line work here, you have to enter on the wall. You don't enter a car length off and slide up to the wall. You enter on the fence, get right up next to it, right as you're lifting off the gas. And I think that that's the challenge for a lot of drivers. It takes a lot of nerve, a lot of skill to be able to really put the car against the wall on entry, on decel. But Kyle Larson will tell you that's the sooner you can create that additional increase in side force, the better. Kyle Larson told me if he enters a lane lower, he's more apt to hit the wall in the middle of the corner. It's easier to make that mistake and get the fence. So trying to stay on this wall, especially entering turn 1 right here with Chastain. Let's see how he does it. See, he moves away from the wall, And a lot of drivers will then slide up against it. He's not going to run the wall on this end of the racetrack, but a lot of times you sort of chop the entry even by a car length, and then you lose that side force, you know, and you slide up to the wall in the middle of the corner. It's so hard to commit on entry right up against the fence like right here. That's a good job. He's even moving a little bit away from it there, but late in the race, you want to be inches from that wall all the way around the entire lap. It's really the only track you do that at.
Does the Kubota camera survive an entire race if you're going to put that thing inches from the wall? We hope so. But a great view there from Ross Chastain. It's still Keselowski out in front here at Homestead-Miami. NASCAR Drive, that's your live race day companion. You can follow your favorite drivers with access to their in-car cameras. You can even choose some alternate camera angles. Visit NASCAR.com/drive, or you can download the NASCAR mobile app to watch all of the action. We ride along with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and the 47 car, thanks to Vitamin Water, giving us this look out of the passenger side, right side window. Keselowski out front, but only by 0.3 of a second. That's now down to 0. As you see the 5 of Kyle Larson right next to him.
And this is fun to see him try to make this pass on the bottom of the racetrack. We saw his teammate, the 24 Byron, make the pass for Lee earlier running the bottom, and look how well he does pinning that left front to the white line. That whole car is just sliding through the corner. Takes such discipline on the throttle and the steering to do that.
And discipline on corner entry, right? See Brad Keselowski down trying to jump back on the outside. Now Larson's going to just slide right up in front of Brad, put Brad in a situation. What am I going to do? Brad lifts a little bit of give and take early in the race. But when Larson went to the bottom, it was about discipline. Meaning if you drive in the corner too deep and you miss that white line, it's a terrible lap. You got to drive in there at the right speed, get the car slowed down, get the left front on it, and then it'll roll around it. If you ever miss it, you're never going to get back down to it. And that's difficult to do when you've been running a different lane. To immediately go and maximize the potential is a very difficult thing to do.
And Larson has the opportunity to run the wall in 1 and 2, chooses not to. Saw it yesterday in the Xfinity race. A lot of great opportunity in turn 1 and 2. A lot less grip in 3 and 4, but running the bottom in turn 1, I think has more potential today than what we're going to see down in turn 3 and 4, Dave.
And you saw Larson not just jump into making that pass on the 6. He took his time, and the car condition may be why.
Just a little too tight lane exit, so then.
Do you think that's where you would want it for clean air?
No.
Little bit tight late exit, so couldn't really finish the pass there like he wanted to. Finally got it done and needs an adjustment next time he comes to pit road, Marty, even though he's the leader.
Dave, Brad Keselowski is out of the playoffs. When I talked to Matt McCall, his crew chief, this morning, I said, so what's the goal for the rest of 2023? And then he said, win a race or 2. He said, honestly, it's not that far out of the realm of possibility. Finished 4th at Las Vegas last week, showing they can run up front here today. And remember, Martinsville, Phoenix, 2 terrific tracks for Brad Keselowski. Rick, it's crazy to think Brad Keselowski has never won in the next-gen car. It might change before the season's over.
Well, moving over to Roush Fenway to make it Roush Fenway Keselowski has given him that opportunity. He's on a 95 race winless streak, but it has been Chris Buescher that he's been most proud of as really kind of carrying the flag for RFK this season. But now it's Brad Keselowski who's running up front and contending for the wins. Motus Freight giving us this shot with Kevin Harvick.
Yeah, a little bit of movement in the back of that car off of turn 2. You're going to have that. He's committed to the gas right here. A little shift. Starts to try to go to gas. Wants to commit. Wants to see those cars driving away from him. He's like, I got to get more throttle. It's just asking too much of the rear tires.
That's exactly where Joey Logano spun out yesterday in practice. Like, he was coming off the corner, and Joey got surprised how quickly the car turned around, hit the inside wall, had to go to a backup.
On this tire with the short sidewall, that little moment of the cars, losing traction is in such a small window, and you have to be able to react to it and recognize that it's happening to be able to save the car. It's so much harder to do for these Cup drivers than the truck in the Xfinity Series, which has a taller sidewall tire.
99 of Suarez just in front of Kevin Harvick. Harvick, he's completed every lap but 2 that he has raced here since he made his first Miami start. 22 starts in total. 19 of those have ended in top 10s. Check in on Denny Hamlin. Dave.
Rick coming back through the field now, back up to 9th position after being one of the last ones to take on fresh Goodyear tires. And remember, I told you guys that part of the radio conversation was they're going to learn something here. So Steve, as he comes back through, and with the math that Chris Gabart did, splitting the stage exactly in half, what kind of things was the crew chief wanting to learn?
Well, I think what he's wanting to learn is he knew he was going to give up time by pitting late. The question is, do you get it back? And if you do, how long does it take? So with 19 laps to go in this stage, Denny Hamlin, as you mentioned, Dave, running 9th, 13 seconds behind Kyle Larson. But look at the difference. He was over 16 seconds back, 15, then started chunking it down, 13. But then you see how it kind of tapered. 5 laps later, he's still 13 seconds back. So I'm not sure if the strategy itself is way off. It just seems like Denny Hamlin is just not quite as good on old tires as he needs to be. He's still the fastest car on the racetrack, but now by only 1/10 of a second. He needs to be making up 2, 3, 4/10 of a second a lap.
Right? Remember, Steve, you told us earlier that he was running 7th before that pit cycle, and it was only a little over 5 seconds behind the race leader. So maybe a net loss?
Well, I don't know. I think he's going to get back to 7th. So you see on the left-hand side, 12 seconds behind the leader, but only about a second behind Bell, 2.5 behind Dillon. I think he'll get back to 7th. Now, relative to the leader, he may be further back, but I don't know if that's an 11-car issue or a Kyle Larson really good issue out there leading the race.
Good little battle right here between this 12-car, Blaney and Byron. Blaney to the inside of the lap car. Alex Bowman just can't quite get there. Byron now to the inside. They're both side by side down to the bottom of the racetrack. 24 wraps that bottom really good, but the 12's been good this weekend. A lot of good speed in this car in practice. Surprised a lot of people to see the speed they had. He's showing it right now in the top 5.
Yeah, a lot of optimism around that 12 car. Here comes William Byron, drives deep in the corner. He's still just keeping the left side tires right on that white line, Steve.
Yeah, and right behind him you see Alex Bowman. If you want to know how he ended up back there, he was running pretty decent. He slid long in his box. Green flag, had to back up. Had like a 17, 18-second pit stop. For that reason, he's a lap down.
Watching his 17 car here, Chris Buescher trying to stay on the lead lap. Leader Larson trying to put him a lap down here. Should be able to do this relatively easily. Buescher's about 3 or 4 tenths off the pace of the leader in this 17 car. He does have that preferred high line, but you see he can't really get the car to work up there. He has to try to drive away from the wall on corner exit.
Buescher, he's back underneath the 5 of Larson. What's he going to do? How aggressive is he going to get? Does not get very aggressive. Drives in. Not a lot of panic. Really smart move by Buescher. Thought he might
right there.
overdrive the entry and try to slide up, but just understanding the situation and not making it worse.
You can see the car moving around right there in the middle, trying to get back to the gas. That at 17 is unhappy.
Buescher has struggled the most of the playoff drivers. He now a lap down, running 28th here in Miami. The race to 1 million is heating up in the NASCAR Powerball playoff. 8 fans are already locked in for a chance to win $1 million in NASCAR Championship weekend. Follow the playoffs to see who advances and who will get cut. Powerball, the official lottery game of NASCAR. Well, Chris Buescher would like to win the lottery right now. Kim, is it something specific that he's dealing with, or is it a general problem that Buescher has?
Well, they've just missed it on the setup of that race car for this weekend for Chris Buescher. He's complaining that he loses the rear on throttle, but then he also can't get the thing pointed where it needs to be. So both ends of that race car misbehaving currently. Right now, his team just intermittently getting on the radio, trying to keep his head in the game, telling him, keep on digging. Marty, they currently sit 1 lap down in the 28th position.
Kim, after starting on the pole, Martin Truex Jr. has not really fallen out of the top 5 today. How's the car handling? Listen.
Our 1 and 2 still really good here. Only weak spot right now is entry speed to 3.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what to do about it. I'm trying.
Copy.
So, Steve, it's crazy to think that the regular season champion in Truex has one top 10 finish in the playoffs so far. Is this, in your opinion, their best race so far? I know it's coming to the end of stage one in the playoffs. And would runs like this be enough to get the 19 team in the championship 4?
Well, I think speed like this, I mean, I think last week he was actually a little better. Remember, they had a real snafu with some strategy and got behind. But this is the second week in a row, guys, another mile and a half that the 19 looks like he has speed enough to keep up.
The only thing that bothers me is talking about the bounce of his car. He's got a couple cars right behind him, Reddick, the 11 of Hamlin. If he loses 2 or 3, 4 more spots, the handling on that car is going to become an even bigger problem. So right now, I don't see the speed that I'd like to see in this 19, and if they don't keep this track position and improve the handling on this race car, it could be a tough day just to be able to finish in the top 10.
I think one of the things I heard on the radio was the conversation about you're getting beat into corner 3. Well, if you're comparing to Kyle Larson, he's beating everyone into turn 3. He's got tons of corner speed, and can you get there? Right? Is that really, can you take your setup and carry the same corner entry speed into 3 as Larson, or do you need to try to maximize the speed somewhere else? Those are decisions that you have to make as the crew chief and the driver. Where are we really getting beaten by, and what is achievable, Steve? Because you can't fix everything on the race car.
Denny Hamlin with those newer tires sliding up in front of the 45 of Reddick, taking that position away, and now he tries to close in on this 19 car.
And just to circle back around, he pitted from 7th, the story we keep saying about the 11. Well, that Hamlin pass right there puts him in 6th, and I think he has a chance to go get Truex.
5 to go in stage 1. Again, the top 10 all earned stage points, which is very important as the race for the championship 4 is tightening up for points. Every position is a point. And Hamlin, as you mentioned, up to 6th already, now trying to take that 5th spot away from Truex.
Every position a point, and Larson doesn't care about that. He knows that he is going to Homestead, and all he is doing is taking points from other people.
Larson out in front by 2.3 seconds over Brad Keselowski, a non-playoff driver. Then it's Blaney, Byron, Truex, Hamlin, Reddick, all playoff drivers in the top 7.
Truex to the bottom of the racetrack right here, trying to get around this lap car.
Oh, round goes to 47. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. slides, and the caution will come out.
Sitting on the end of the back straightaway here with a couple flat tires.
He was 18th when he went around, and with under 4 laps to go, Steve, this is going to probably end the stage. They won't be able to get back to green.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen here. You can hear the damage being done by the flat tires for the 47. I couldn't tell if it was flat tires because of the spin. Did it cause the spin, or is it the toe link? The right rear does not look like it was pointing in the correct direction, but it's hard to say what was the cause and what was the result.
And he was a part of that green flag pit stop cycle. Everybody coming around 32, 33.
Yeah, you see the right rear pointed towards the inside of the car, so that tells me that the toe link is broke. You see a little damage on the wheel well. Let's see what happens. So it looks like, I'm going to call it light contact. Anywhere else that would be a little bit heavy wall contact. Here in Miami, light contact, but then it breaks the toe link, and you think that's what causes the eventual spin?
Well, that's difficult to tell, but sometimes, Steve, when the car gets in the wall, it just sucks it into the wall. You can't get away from it. It just keeps banging back into it. And then, yes, I think it did break the toe link, and that's why it ultimately spun.
First caution out here at Homestead-Miami Speedway.
trouble out of turn number 2. Kyle Larson.
Oh, wow. That was massive.
That was a good save. Your car's fine. Stay with it.
Does Bell have enough? It's Larson. Bell.
High. Push it. Checker flag. Hell yeah!
What a finish by Kyle Larson.
Yeah, good job, guys. Go to Phoenix, boys. Go to Phoenix.
Really cool to get to go race for another championship here in a few weeks, and glad we don't have to stress over these next few races.
Larson takes one of the spots in the championship 4 in 2 weeks at Phoenix. He'll be racing for his 2nd championship. And as we finish under caution, Larson is going to have his 8th stage win of 2023. He swept the stages and won here last year after leading 199 laps. And with this one ending under yellow, he'll grab this stage. And again, 10 points for him. They don't matter. He's already in the championship 4. But other playoff drivers that are going to gain points: Blaney, Byron, Truex Jr., Hamlin, Reddick, and Bell in 9th.
So basically, you're just leaving Chris Buescher off the list?
Yes.
Yeah, Chris Buescher is going to be the only playoff driver to not score stage points. And what makes it worse is he was the only one a week ago in the same bucket. No stage points. And Junior Jeff, we talked about it. These stage points have changed how racing works. It's not top 5s and top 10s anymore. It's how many points you earned getting to that top 5 or that top 10.
Yeah, and I would even say Christopher Bell finishing 9th. Yeah, he got stage points, but that's not enough. I mean, this is, look at the lineup. It's the playoff guys.
Right.
We talked about it before the race. Okay is not okay. You got to be really, really good if you're going to get the points that you need. Christopher Bell with a top 10 in stage 1 has the 2nd least amount of points earned so far today, the playoff guys.
Yeah, it's wild how the narrative's changed over the years. You had to win the final race to win the championship. Now you got to run top 5 in every single stage.
Yeah.
At least in the final few rounds before we get to Phoenix. The standard for excellence and just how good you've got to be to make it to that final race keeps getting raised every year.
Chris Buescher really has put himself into a must-win situation, either here or at Martinsville. But the rest of the field, can we put Tyler Reddick? I mean, he's right now 19 points below the cut line. Is that must-win yet? I mean, there's still a lot of points that are out there, even in this race.
Yeah, it's just you're racing against the best. So maybe it is must-win because all these other guys aren't going to have bad days.
Pit road is open, and Kyle Larson in the 5 is going to lead him on to pit road, Kim.
William Byron still battling a tight condition. He said he cannot use the right front center exit as a tool yet, so the plan is to free him up with a little wedge and air pressure adjustment in addition to those 4 Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel, Dave.
Stage winner Kyle Larson did not have the against the wall stuff fixed, so a small adjustment there. Middle and bottom are good. As for Ryan Blaney, 8 stage points, definitely better, but a little tight on the wall. Needs adjustment for that, Marty.
Dave, hearing a lot of variance between handling conditions on each end of the racetrack. Martin Truex Jr. a good example in 1 and 2. They say they're so good, but 3 and 4, no grip against the wall, free on entry and tight back to the gas. Truex came in 5th, Rick. He winds up gaining 1 spot, leads in 4th.
Yeah, Byron gaining a spot, Truex gaining a spot, and so good for those two as Pitbull, Grimace, the Hamburglar, Mike Heldon, all before the start of this race having a good time. Now, stage 1 complete here in Miami.
Another shake and kick holes in the ground, cause my style's like a chemical spill. Feasible rhymes you can vision and feel. Conducted in form.
NBC Sports coverage of NASCAR is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Save when you bundle auto, home, or motorcycle insurance. Visit progressive.com. Coke Zero Sugar. Is it the best Coke ever? And by Northern Tool. Start solving your projects today at northerntool.com. We're made for this. You're watching the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. Forever 400, presented by Mobil 1. Stage 1 is complete. Let's check in with the Peacock Pit Box and KP and DJ. All right, KP, anything surprise you out of Stage 1?
Well, the sun's beginning to peek through a little bit, so the weather conditions are changing. And William Byron, he's had a look at the front. We've seen him run up front. Also Brad Kay, he continues to impress. But I had to look around about halfway through that segment because I thought we were still in Vegas with that 5-car lead.
Yeah, he's got. If momentum and confidence is anything going forward, then he might already hand the championship in hand. But I like watching Ryan Blaney. He moved around with his race car, made a lot of passes down the bottom side, which not a lot of people were able to do. But he also could run against the wall. So let's see what he can do if he can continue to move forward, getting more stage points.
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
It will, as again Larson out in front after pit stops have taken place. Keselowski will be second as we look at the Stage 1 points that were earned. Mentioned Larson gaining 10, doesn't need them, but he has them. Blaney, Byron, Truex Jr., Hamlin, Reddick, and Bell, all playoff drivers that gain points. The one that's not on that list is Buescher. Get a few updates before the green flag flies. We'll start with Kim.
And Austin Dillon having a great run today, currently in the 6th position, and he's got 3 finishes in the last 4 races of 8th or better, including a 4th last year. I asked him why he likes this track so much. He said it reminds him of a dirt track. He can move around and find all different lanes. Dave?
What happened to pole sitter Bubba Wallace after leading 9 laps early? Well, he said it's icy out here. Can't turn off the wall like he wants to. Can't feel the right rear like I did yesterday. They told him to focus and keep working on it. He said, I'm going to been babying it too much, Marty. I'm going to start attacking.
Dave, terrific Stage 1 for Brad Keselowski, but is there a problem with the brakes?
Hey, man, do we have a big brake opening in the front or something? It's like the brakes are too cold. They're shaking like hell. That's hurt me probably the most about me right now. Probably rubber buildup in the right front. We had a bunch of rubber buildup in the right front, man.
So, Steve, can you help us understand what all of that means?
Well, we talk about tire fall off. Well, tire fall off means the rubber is kind of being graded off the tires. Where does it go? It goes in the ductwork, goes in the hose area, gets on the right front brakes, and that must be why it pulsates and shakes.
Keselowski with his hand out the window, and he's going to ask for some help here. Maybe get a little push into turn number 1. Kyle Larson first into the gas as Stage 2 is underway. Keselowski tried to clear the 5, couldn't make it happen. Now the 5 fighting back on the outside.
It's not over. Brad Keselowski staying really low, trying to avoid the side draft. Now moving up to him, trying to get a better angle into turn 3.
Up the racetrack, the 19 had to get out of the gas before he hit the 24 of Byron.
See that Gibbs car, number 54 at the top of the racetrack, using that hot line, using that clean air as well. Been able to gain a ton of spots.
Tyler Reddick in the 45, just on the inside of Blaney. Nose to tail, the top 5 with Reddick running in that 5th position.
Oh, the 1 gets in that dirty air right there, but the 45 slides up the racetrack. The bottom opens up, back to the gas, to the inside. 3 wide, almost clear.
Chastain going into turn 1, 3 wide on the bottom.
Hamlin's got no clean air on his car. All these cars trying to slide up in front of each other, taking away that clean air. Look at the 7. LaJoie taking a spot away right there. Great run for that little team. They're diving down into the bottom of the corner now.
Heard Hamlin upshift right there.
Well, Hamlin has no clean air because I had a pit stop over 13 seconds, came in 6th, out 14th. More than just 8 spots. Now he's back here in the dirty air and all this traffic. I mentioned a slow pit stop, good on the right side. Watch on the left side. Left rear tire comes off. When they go to put the tire on, the lug nut falls out of the socket. Tire changer picks it up, does a great job. Could have been a disaster. but the pit stop's just so fast nowadays that small hiccup, that's 8 spots on pit road.
A.J. Allmendinger shifted down in there trying to get along the side of the 7 car. Now Hamlin lost that track position. Now he's going to have to fight hard to keep the little bit that he's got. He cannot fall any further back.
Saw the comparison, 3 seconds he lost on pit road. We're fighting back now on the track as he runs in the 10th position. Here's Martin Truex Jr. to the inside of Keselowski. Martin falls behind Keselowski and drops right in behind him.
We'll see if the 19 teams improve this car a little bit. Martin was not quite as comfortable as he needed to be getting into turn 3. But he's holding ground here in the top 5.
MTJ, after starting on pole, is a second back, running in the 4th position. Kyle Larson, 0.2 of a second in front of William Byron.
It's an important part of the run here too, guys. You know, this is 75 to go in this stage. You can go off right now and run really, really quick, and it's going to hurt your tires. These 2 guys out front, they can save a little bit of tire early to have better speed later. That's what a little bit of gap. Go run hard, but then back that speed up just a little bit.
It's interesting watching both of these cars at the top of the screen, running 1st and 2nd, not using the top of the racetrack. Showing us that there are other lines and other places to go to find speed. Back in 3rd behind this group, Brad Keselowski's right on the fence trying to make the time, but these cars right here, there you see that 6 car up there, making time at the top of the racetrack, and he'll continue to do that until these cars of Byron and the 5 of Larson move up into that groove and take that line away. As that 6 gets closer, I wonder if the spotters giving them that information, if they decide to change their line and run somewhere different to try to limit the abilities of that 6 car.
Last 7 races here has been won by 7 different drivers, and Larson and Byron, they won here in 22 and 21 when it was the last 2 races running 1 and 2.
There's a 5 car. He went to the very top of the racetrack trying to take away that line of the 6 car, at least trying to match his speed up there at the top of the racetrack. And you see the difference that Byron did not run the top. He lost a little bit of ground to both cars down the front straightaway. Now this end of the racetrack in 1 and 2 is pretty good on the bottom because it's in the shade for most of the day. So think about that year round. Which end of the racetrack's in the sun more? Turns 3 and 4. And it bleaches the surface of the racetrack and it rips grip away from the track as opposed to turn 1 and 2, which has just a little more grip in that bottom groove. Also, it's a little bit overcast right now, but those, you know, the wall and all of the things, the banking cast a shadow across turn 1 and 2, dropping the temperature of the racetrack. As that happens, grip goes down or grip goes up as the track cools off.
And Junior, cloud cover once again over the entire racetrack, so the sun not beating down on the surface anymore.
Yeah, not much, but it's still bright enough to cast that a little bit of a shadow off the wall in turn 1 and 2. So you put the right sides in that shadow, it's probably 10, 20 degrees cooler temperature, a little bit more grip.
Oh, Brad Keselowski, he's trying to stay alongside William Byron. He did not run to the bottom of the racetrack, ran all the way up the racetrack, trying to crowd him.
Whoa.
Now up into him, entering turn 1 to improve his angle into turn 1, and now he's just going to take the spot. Brad Keselowski out of the playoffs, but he still has a ton of fight in him.
Just imagine how badly he wants to go to victory lane, Jeff. He's seen his teammate and his team car, Chris Buescher, win races this year, and he knows how much better this team has gotten in general. And he's had some opportunities as a fast race cars, but just hasn't been able to close the deal. And he's running out of races. The intensity is picking up even for the non-playoff drivers to get to victory lane.
Steve, will stage 2 be a mirror image of stage 1 as far as pit strategy? Will we see guys coming on around lap 35?
Yeah, it's going to be the same exact thing all over again. We're going to see right here the 6 a little high. I think he makes just light contact with the wall. You're concerned if that happens all day long is that toe link like we saw the 47 break. You know, it's strong enough for a few hits, but if you hit it too many times, it could fail. But yeah, Rick, 35, 36 laps on the tires. They currently have 12 green flag laps. So, 24-ish laps from here, we'd expect to see someone. But it did work okay for both Logano or Hamlin, the 2 cars that ran long. So we'll see if other crew chiefs have seen that, and they're going to adjust their strategy here in the second stage.
Entertainment, a big part of Homestead-Miami Speedway, as well as the area we're in. Miami, the beaches, and the parties. Sport City, so many things to do when you come to South Florida, like enjoy a race here at Homestead-Miami Speedway. NASCAR Fantasy Live lets you keep tabs on your fantasy lineup throughout the race and allows you to adjust your picks until the end of stage 2. So you've got 63 laps to go. Visit NASCAR.com/fantasy or select the fantasy icon on the mobile app leaderboard to make in-race changes. Running third is William Byron, and Liberty University is more than William Byron's sponsor. It's his school, offering more than 700 flexible, affordable degree programs online and on campus. You can get your future on track today. Visit liberty.edu/24. We actually have 5 members of our production crew that are Liberty graduates: Adriana, Chris, Megan, Liam, and Louie. As William Byron runs 2.4 seconds off of what Larson is running in that third position. Larson up front, Keselowski, Byron, Blaney, and Truex are the top 5. Chastain, Austin Dillon, Ty Gibbs, Reddick, and Hamlin the top 10. Get a few updates from pit road, and we'll start with William Byron in the 24, Kim.
And Rick Williams saying it feels a little plump on the right rear, like it has too much air in that tire, but more so than needing something from the car, he needs something from his team. Take a listen to the radio.
49 for you, 52 out back. Got it, yeah, just let me focus here.
So we talk about how demanding this racetrack is. Right now, William, more than anything, just needs his team, Dave, to keep quiet and let him concentrate on what he's doing on the racetrack.
Kim, the 11 played a little different strategy last time. Here's what they thought of it.
Good job with the strategy there. Yeah, I ain't so sure about that, but I appreciate you cheerleading. But now we know what we got. So, we do, others don't. That's something. Yeah, I thought I'd catch those guys a ton quicker, but whatever.
That was the real world learning. Also real world is that they had pit stop issues, but they've gained 3 spots back since then, Marty.
Dave Christopher Bell, the playoff driver, spent the stage 1 laps in the top 10. Stage 2 has not been as kind. Right now in 18th. What's going on with the car?
Tight.
There you go, Steve. In case you did not get that message in your Adam Stevens, his crew chief, he also reiterated after that, whatever adjustment you did the last time was 180 degrees in the wrong direction. So how do you bail him out when your driver's suffering back there in 18th?
Well, all you can let him know is that you hear him, that you know you're going to make adjustments. I would say I do believe the track is tightening up. I think all the Goodyear rubber getting put down. Every driver comments that I'm reading up here, the ones that were loose picked their cars a little bit better. The ones that were tight are now too tight, which tells me that every crew chief down there didn't make the wrong adjustments. Just maybe they didn't make big enough adjustments to leapfrog the direction of the racetrack.
Plowing my brains out everywhere else.
That is a direct equivalent to 9 tights. Those go hand in hand, just for those that are translating at home.
The top 4, by the way, are absolutely inches away from the wall right now. We're seeing Larson, Keselowski, Byron, Blaney run right up against the boards.
And the problem with a tight car like that is that, you know, you're wearing the tires out, and now you're hurting the right front even more because it's so tight. You're having to turn the car more. And when you go to the throttle, it actually makes it looser. You got more steer wheel in it, more directional wheel in it than you want. And so, yes, it's super, super tight, but the rear tires aren't going to work either. And on a track like this, if your car will not point and go in the direction you need it to go in, it is a major disadvantage.
It surprises me. These guys are going over 150 miles an hour there, right there as we're watching them through the turns, and they're literally less than a foot away from that wall.
One thing that jumps out to me is how much straighter the next-gen car runs. That same camera angle yesterday, the noses were maybe a foot off the wall, the tail right up against the wall. These cars much straighter. I don't know if that is the setups in the car, maybe the lower profile tire that just forces the car to run straighter, but there's not a lot of room for error.
No. We just saw Ty Gibbs, and he was about 3 inches away from the wall.
I mean, think about how nervous you get going down the interstate in a construction zone at 55 and the Jersey barriers over there. How uncomfortable that is, where you're used to having all of that shoulder available. Now add 100 miles an hour and go, you know, way closer than you should be to that Jersey barrier.
Yeah, Jersey barriers, they're probably 5, 8, 10 feet away from you. These guys are literally inches away from the wall, double the speed.
You see Reddick right up against it. He's comfortable up there. He's a guy that really enjoys running against the wall. He doesn't mind doing it all day. Remember, he won those Xfinity races on this racetrack, and we kept waiting all day long for him to hit the wall, damage it. Never did. He was perfectly comfortable up there. See Ross Chastain, he is not there. He's off the wall, giving himself a little bit of a cushion.
All these drivers have spent this entire week at least running a couple of hours on the sim. I've seen Chastain over at the Chevrolet sim the past several weeks, and they spend hours basically just practicing running the wall. Of course, they do some setup stuff, some minimal things about qualifying what line to run, but they've really, you know, spent all week trying to understand how to do this as well as possible. And even with that extra time on the racetrack, it still takes so much guts to get up there and do it right. Your car's got to work the way you want it to. You see some people just not willing to commit this early in the race to getting up there and getting in the wall.
Able to ride along with Ross Chastain and that Kubota on board. Interesting, Junior, the sun's peeking out again. It could become an issue quickly.
Next round of pit stops underway here at the Forever 400. You see the 5 car of Kyle Larson came to pit road. Still needs help for the problem he had earlier. 2 tied up against the wall. You saw the 12 of Ryan Blaney as well. He needed a little bit of adjustment, Marty.
Dave, Christopher Bell continued the tight conversation with Adam Stevens. He fell back to 18th before he came to pit road. Stevens making the call to come earlier on this side. He said it's free on entry, but I'm absolutely plowing everywhere else. Martin Truex Jr. much better this run. He said the car is tighter on this run. That's a good thing. He had hoped it would hold on longer as well, and that actually did happen for Truex. And with this long run, which should be with 49 to go here in stage 2, that should really play to his advantage. Tyler Reddick said, we also had better long run speed here. I need to be a little bit freer so I can run the wall the way I want to. And Brad Keselowski keeping it in the top 5 all day long today. Said the car just lost a little bit of grip the later they went.
All right, Dave Burns, I'll fire the question at you. Is the 11 going to stay out again like we saw in stage 1?
So far, it is at this point. We'll see what happens with Denny Hamlin next. But remember, they liked the data they got last time. Would it be the winning strategy? They don't quite know, but they took note of it.
Again, that slow pit stop for the 11 team put them back just a little bit further. So they gained the track position there by staying out, but does it become that net situation? They netted a position on stage 1. Can they do it again here in stage 2?
Well, if it ever works, it would work even better in this stage here. These cars have run about 32, 33 laps on tires before they came to pit road. Now they're going to have to run mid to high 40s, almost 50 laps. So this second set of tires will really fall off. Denny Hamlin's going to run a few more laps, pit. Now the negative to Hamlin's strategy is even after he pits, if we get a caution with say 10 to go in the stage, that's 10 less laps he has to gain back the time. That's really the risk that Hamlin takes. The advantage is, you know, he's much faster for the whole second half of the stage.
And we talk about discipline when you're driving these race cars. It becomes even more difficult when you're on old, super old tires and everybody else has new tires, because they're driving their car way harder than you are. They can drive in the corner deeper. They can get in the gas sooner. You really have to focus on maximizing your car, ignore everything around you.
Well, look right there. I mean, you're talking over 4 miles an hour different, right? From Kyle Larson to Hamlin, who's leading the race, Jeff, to your point.
Old tires versus new. This racing surface, we've heard from so many drivers, it's tough on tires. And Larson, who has been out already for 60 laps, leading this field on the fresher tires. Denny Hamlin now leading laps on the older tires, but just because of pit strategy that he's out front. Bubba Wallace staying out there with them. As a matter of fact, the top 8 all under this same strategy. Starting to see a few more make their way onto pit road. Alex Bowman, Todd Gilliland on pit road now.
And Rick, I think you see more on this strategy because, as I mentioned, for Hamlin, I think it was a net gain for positions. It was a huge gain for Logano, right? This is a car that had to start in the back. He ran that same strategy as the 11 of Denny Hamlin, and he drove all the way up inside the top 20 before he made his pit stop. So I think other teams have seen that, and that's why they're running a little bit longer on the first set of tires in stage 2. Dave?
And Steve, when they all started pitting, Kirchie Booty Barker told Bubba Wallace, nope, you stay out. That's way too early for us. So this is about what they did last time. Kind of came in between everybody. The car is much better this time for Bubba Wallace as he continues to make better lap time than he was when it was so icy out there for him.
So a lot of smoke coming out of the right front of Bubba Wallace. We've already heard the 6th is having a brake issue. These brake rotors, how hot do they get, Steve?
Well, coming to pit road, you're going to see them, you know, over 1,400 degrees. You're trying to slow that car down. The brakes on the next-gen car, especially at the intermediate tracks, are much larger than what you would have run. So you have a lot of braking power. That could be good and bad, right? You can overstop the car, or, as in the case of the 6, you can actually get a little bit of a brake vibration with that heavy rotor.
6 of Keselowski running in that 7th spot right now, with Blaney just behind him. 4 drivers leading laps, excuse me, 5 drivers leading laps already in this race. Larson, Hamlin, Keselowski, Byron, and Truex Jr.
Ryan Blaney, the struggle on 1.5 miles this year, really on low grip racetracks, but team doing a good job today, Kim.
And Kevin Harvick finishing service. He said the front is still absolutely terrible and the back not where he wants it. Just won't turn an adjustment there. Kyle Busch also in, also complaining of a tight condition. He said overall tight, tighten one, tighten the throttle. Decent on center, but tight late exit.
Hearing a lot of tights, Rick. I think that's the direction the track is going. It's kind of what happens. That's a pretty normal thing. Now, other races, this one specifically, used to run later in the day. The sun would start to set, and the track would go back to a free type of balance. But today, I believe we're going to finish this race with the sun up in the air, and it's just going to keep getting tighter. Now we see Denny Hamlin. No surprise, he's pitting with 41 laps on his tires and 41 laps to go in this stage. So once again, just splitting this up directly in the middle. He was about 10th, 11 seconds back when the pit cycle started with the leaders. So we'll see, first of all, can the 11 have a clean stop? Dave, we'll see if they do a little better than last time.
Yeah, we're going to watch, especially on that left rear. That's where the trouble was last time. So as he comes around this time, does the nut stay in the gun? It's magnetically attached. Yes, it does, back on there. That's a much better stop for Denny.
Better stop for Denny Hamlin. And again, on a different strategy, coming about 7, 8 laps later than the rest of this field. Larson has made his way back up front for so many years. This was the last race of the season. Numerous champions have been crowned here at Homestead-Miami. Now it is the pathway to the championship 4. If you're a playoff driver and win here, you can make it into that title race. .128 laps complete here at Homestead-Miami Speedway. How did we get here? Martin Truex Jr., Bubba Wallace on the front row. But then Kyle Larson decided it was time to dominate once again. He gets back up front as he passed the 6.
Yeah, and then the 47 of Stenhouse. A little bit of wall contact, then a broken toe link sends the 47 spinning, bringing out the caution right before the end of stage 1, and then under yellow, the 5 of Larson, the winner of the first stage.
Trouble on pit road for the 11 here. See right there. Looks like, what are we looking at there?
The nut?
The nut, yeah.
Lug nut came off.
So they're trying to chase that down, stick that back on the left rear. Just a little bit of time cost on that 11 car, and now they're working to try to repair the gun itself.
Yeah, clean up that socket. That one single nut stays in there with a magnet, but if you bang the wheel that comes off, or right there, maybe there's a burr, it didn't let the magnet seal it all the way. It only cost, I mean, look how quick it was, 2.5 seconds. That was 8 spots for Denny Hamlin. Now here's Denny Hamlin right here. He was the last car to pit. Remember, he was running about 11th at the start of the cycle. Now he's 15th, 21 seconds behind, but you see how quickly he's moving through traffic. Fastest car on the racetrack every lap. That last lap, over a half a second faster than the leader of Larson, so he should continue to move up through the field. What he needs now is for these last 34 laps of this stage to run clean and green. He does not want to see a yellow.
Hamlin running in the 14th position. Let's go through the field, and guys, let's take it. We'll start with you, Jeff Burton, and the 54 of Ty Gibbs.
Yeah, Ty Gibbs, see, he started in 9th position, all the way down to 25th. Pitted early this sequence, got stuck in traffic. Came down pit road a little bit early, trying to get away from that traffic. Now solidly in the top 10. continually see this car and this driver racing in the top 10, just trying to clean a few things up so they can get better finishes.
3-car Austin Dillon right behind him here in 8th place. Had a great qualifying effort, 6th. Been able to hang right around the top 10. Some great speed in this car all day long. Trying to close it out today. It's been a tough year for this team. No wins, only one top 5 finish. So they'd love to be able to get a top 5 today. If you can't win, you want to finish on a strong note this year. They're having a great run today.
Well, you mentioned speed. That's what the one of Ross Chastain has brought both last week at Las Vegas and this week at Miami. This is the driver that kind of had a quiet summer, then jumped into victory lane at Nashville with an impressive run, and kind of disappeared again. He made the playoffs, but was unable to continue into the round of 8. I thought he had car enough to at least compete last week. Another fast car for the one here in Miami.
Just behind Chastain, running in the top 10 is A.J. Allmendinger, and so many questions still out there. Will he run in the Cup Series? Will it be the Xfinity Series next year? Well, that decision may have been made, or at least helped to be made, when he, a couple races back, won at the Charlotte Roval, and it was a huge emotional win for A.J. Allmendinger as he got out of the car and said, you just never know when you're going to win your next race at the Cup Series.
Joey Logano out of the playoffs, a disappointing year, not the number of wins, not the speed that they normally have, and a backup car today. Really nice job sitting there running in 11th place. A nice recovery for a team that, honestly, since the playoffs have started, have run better than they did in the regular season, but just not good enough against this tough field.
Corey LaJoie running back in 12th place. A great run for this team. They've really worked hard. Spire has made a big commitment to get better this year. The results are there. At this particular racetrack, though, they have not finished in the top 20 in the last 3 races, so definitely want to be able to close it out today with a great result. But this 17, they're on the upswing. Big things happening for them next year as well. Love to see this team getting better and better every year.
You see Hamlin coming by with those a little bit fresher tires right behind the 7. A pair of SHR teammates, right? We have Chase Briscoe in the 14, Eric Almirola in the 10. You mentioned an upswing for Spire. You know, I think for SHR, having a couple of these Fords inside the top 15 is an upswing. It's definitely been a little bit of a down year for Stewart-Haas Racing. I know it's not the year they wanted to send Kevin Harvick off. These are his teammates here. But, you know, it takes a long time to make gains, Rick, and sometimes they're not obvious, but when I see Briscoe and Almirola in a race that's had very few yellows, you just have to have good cars. Not a lot of gimmicks to run inside the top 15 today. They brought fast enough Fords to do it.
28 laps still remaining in stage 2, and already after only 137 laps have been run, there have been more lead changes this race than the entire race here last year, where there were only 11 lead changes. And the reason why there weren't many lead changes last year was because the driver of the 5 led 199 laps, and here maybe a little bit too close to the wall. With his lead right now, he's got a 5.6 second lead, Steve. As crew chief, are you going to tell him, hey, you don't need to be running inches off the wall right now?
Not with a win in the bank. I'm saying let's get to a 10-second lead, 15, 18. I want to demoralize the field. I want the field to think there's no chance they could beat us for a championship at Phoenix. This is our moment. We won a week ago. This race doesn't matter, so to me it's going to matter more, because if you win the race that you don't need to win, that is really doubling down.
I think, though, that with that win in the bank, he can take those risks. He can push it a little harder. Everyone else has got to keep that car straight to try to get to the end of this stage and the end of this race, while he can take a little bit bigger risks than the rest of the field.
And he's doing it. William Byron, they're sliding in front of Keselowski. So it's Larson, Blaney, Byron, Keselowski, and Truex, the top 5. Fans, make sure to download the official app of NASCAR. It allows you to follow the action with free live scoring. There's in-car cameras, radio broadcast. Search NASCAR in your app store and you can start a free trial today. Fans enjoying the racing here as we take a look at the Xfinity fastest lap, and it definitely has been turned by the 5 of Kyle Larson. It was lap 87 when it came at 32.58 seconds, an average of over 165 miles an hour for that lap.
Well, he's got his hands full with Daniel Suarez. Daniel's actually in front of him trying to get in the lead lap. And watch this. Daniel crosses over, gets back in the top lane. Larson almost into the back of him, turns underneath him. And then off of turn 4, Suarez is like, hey, I'm fighting for my life. And Larson slides right in front of him, and Suarez did not like that. Now look, I know the 5 is racing for the win, but Suarez is racing for his race as well, trying to stay in the lead lap.
And he's got Pitbull here. I mean, he's got one of the co-owners here.
I wasn't going to say it, but I think that has a little bit to do with it too. You want to show out in front of the boss.
Kyle Larson has been up front already 81 laps with just 19 to go here in stage 2. Let's do a playoff driver through the field. We'll start with Dave on Larson.
And Rick, you heard Kyle talk about it before the race. Change nothing. Do what we did last week where they swept the day. Talked to his crew chief Cliff Daniels earlier today. He said change nothing except for one thing. Now that we know we're going to Phoenix, a small part of each of my days is spent on the Phoenix car. But other than that, it is business as usual. We're coming out to win every race. As for the 12 of Ryan Blaney, talked to his crew chief Jonathan Hassler this morning. Hassler said, Vegas, we did not execute the cycles, the strategy. They've been doing that today, and Blaney runs second.
William Byron in the 3rd position, and crew chief Rudy Fugel told me this morning their starting point this weekend was the 5-car setup last year where they swept both stages and won. But yesterday their car needed a little bit of everything. It was nothing special, but it also wasn't bad. They made some adjustments on that. Right now they're just trying to get a points grab. They finished 4th in stage 1. Currently Marty in that 3rd position.
Kim Martin Truex Jr. said earlier this week, there's a comfort for me coming to Miami. This is always a good place. I know that we on the 19 team can be good. It goes all the way back to my Xfinity Series days. I have felt comfortable here and I have fun here. That's not the case for every racetrack, and he's showing that today, trying to get 4th there from Brad Keselowski. Tyler Reddick, his Toyota corporate teammate, right behind him in the 6th position. How's the car handling?
Same deal. Getting beat by a 10th or so in 1 and 2. You make most of it back in 3 and 4, but nobody else running the top that's fast.
I might argue Kyle Larson's running the top pretty good, Dave, but that's been the problem for Larson all day long. Committed to running the top, but struggling in 1 and 2.
Denny Hamlin seems to have a pretty good race car today, running 9th and going on that little bit of different strategy than everybody else. Remember, they're looking at points today and are just above the cut line. Gain 5 at the last stage, in position to gain 2 more as he goes forward, Marty.
Is the handling any better for Christopher Bell? The short answer, no. Sitting in 19th, Dave. And I go back to last week. They were 8/100ths of a second from that win in the championship 4 bid. Bell told me a few weeks ago, I think we'll have to win a race in the round of 8. They were so close to that last week, but today they are struggling with the handling of that 20 car, Kim.
Marty, speaking of struggling with the handling of a race car, Chris Buescher has nothing to show for today so far. Right now he said he's losing rear grip, cannot feel the front end of the car, and he has a good amount of brake fade. It's shaking pretty badly. Crew chief Scott Graves told me they had figured out what worked in Darlington, another racetrack that is a high tire wear, high line racetrack. They brought some of those ideas here, obviously not working for them today here. Chris Buescher currently in the 26th position.
And that brake fade, that brake shake, same thing Brad Keselowski's complaining about. So while Brad is much faster in the 4th position, seems like RFK as an organization have something in the braking system, whether it's overcooled, undercooled, but something both drivers don't seem to like.
Truex Jr. still trying to take that spot away from Brad.
Yeah, Brad's just been on this fence the entire day. I mean, he's maximized how to make time up there, and this is going to be a hard pass for the 19 on older tires. I think on a little bit newer tire, you could use that bottom groove and maybe get by this 6, but Brad's not going to give you anything out there. Truex will have to drop back here and regroup and try to set him up some other way. This lap traffic's going to hurt Brad, though. Look at the gap. Closed. 19 right back to his door.
That's the problem on corner exit running that high line. If your car turns, you'll be able to drive off from the 19.
Less than 13 to go. It's stage 2. All Larson up front this stage. A little lap traffic coming into play for leader Kyle Larson, as he already has the top 23 on the lead lap, and 24th down is a lap down. So Larson continuing to put together lap after lap where he's been able to put these drivers a lap down, and now it almost seems as he's backing off, maybe taking it a little easier on these tires.
Well, the whole pre-race we talked risk versus reward. Maybe he's just said with 7 to go and the 2-second lead, Junior, I just don't want to hit the fence.
Yeah, it looks like it's you know, he's cruising around the bottom of the racetrack. He doesn't really have the top side of the racetrack to use. The cars in front of him been using that, the 48 and the 8 as well. So he's cruising here with coming to 6 laps to go to finish this stage. I was looking out in front of this 5 car, some of the cars he might be coming up on the lap, and one of them is Christopher Bell. Let's listen to some radio on this 20.
4 here. We need to fight hard, try to stay on this lead lap. Okay, I'll start trying.
Pretty funny. He's, you know, drivers think, you know, when they hear that, they're like, what do you think I'm out here just riding around? I mean, these guys really are working their hardest every single lap, and he's doing everything he can, and just frustrated. This racetrack, you know, especially when your car's not running well, like that 20 car, this racetrack will test your mental toughness and your ability to keep your head on straight and not be a smart aleck to the team.
And you talk about the mental toughness. I think what the 11's trying to do with this run-long strategy, this is where it has to pay off. 6 laps to go. He's got Reddick. He's got Truex Jr. He's got by Gibbs, got by Dillon, and look in front of him is Brad Keselowski. That matters because look on the bottom left, +8 above the cut line. You know, you can't wait to 20 to go next week at Martinsville and say, man, I need to find 2 points. All these points matter, and right now, Brad Keselowski, that's another point. So look at the bottom left. Now he's +10 right? He's scoring these points now, and it's projecting through the end of the race. So this strategy for Hamlin has him driving all the way up to 4th. I would be shocked if more cars don't split the final stage up in the middle.
And we talked about the 5 car maybe saving tires. Well, look right here, the 12 car has caught him. He is having trouble getting by that car on the outside of him. He just can't quite clear him. But if he could ever get by Suarez, I think he's got enough car to get by Larson. Suarez is actually running Larson down as well. Larson running the bottom of the racetrack. And look at the 12 car. It just gains on him big time right here.
Larson's in big trouble right there. Slid up, didn't make the bottom of the corner. He's lost all that grip. Here comes the 12 of the inside.
So now Blaney takes the lead away as Harrison Burton's also going to try to unlap himself.
And right behind this group is Byron. Byron in that 24 right there. I think the 12 can get away here possibly if he can clear this 5.
Oh, the 12 just barely got in front of the 5 there. Just barely slid in front of him.
So I think that Blaney can move out, possibly win the stage. Byron's coming though. And this 5 is struggling. Right about 10 laps ago, the car just kind of fell off a cliff in lap time. And he's hanging on trying to get this thing around the corner.
He's got 2 laps to go in stage 2, but now he's falling back. This will make it 3rd that he has fallen back to, as William Byron's going to get by him as well.
Wow, look at that 5. I mean, I'm going to tell you, that car is a handful. I know it's hard to really see it on the screen, but he's barely able to use the throttle, barely able to really get aggressive with the steering wheel. He's just creeping around the bottom of this racetrack trying to get this car to the finish.
We'll be coming up on 1 to go in stage 2.
Look at that thing moving around, sliding. It's losing all kinds of time.
Yeah, 50 laps on these tires, and they have had enough.
And they'll take note of that. The car quit running about 40 laps into this run. We'll have to really kind of try to figure out either how to extend that and allow the car to have a little more pace on the backside of this run. Maybe the driver can give them a little bit on the front end, not run quite as hard in those first 10 or 20 laps.
He was over a second behind the speed of Blaney on the last lap, and Blaney coming out of turn 4, a close one there. But Blaney is going to win stage 2 here in Miami. Byron 2nd, Larson looks as though he's going to hang on for 3rd. That's Blaney's 5th stage win of the season. And a lot of eyes were on Ryan Blaney yesterday during practice and qualifying, showing a lot of speed here at the end of stage 2. So Blaney grabs the stage win, surprises Kyle Larson as he was able to get by. Denny Hamlin on different strategy made his way all the way back up to 4th. Keselowski rounding out the top 5. But Blaney wins stage 2. NBC Sports coverage of NASCAR is brought to you by Sonic. Sonic. Credit One Bank, a credit card company. And by Toyota. Let's go places. You're watching the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs Forever 400 presented by Mobil 1. Take a look at the points that were earned through the 2 stages today. Larson grabbing 18 with that 3rd place finish in stage 2. Doesn't matter as he's already into the championship 4. Blaney, though, 18 points, big for him. Byron 16, Hamlin grabbed 12. Truex Jr. 11, Reddick 8, and Bell 2. The stage 2 winner won the last 4 races here. So is that a good sign for Ryan Blaney, who got the stage 2 win? Burton, you saw it happening 3, 4, 5 laps before the end of that race.
Well, Blaney just really good speed on a long run. Now they need a really good pit stop here.
Kim.
William Byron, finishing 2nd in that stage, asked 2 things of his crew. He said they still need to work on how the car turns. That will help him on entry. And then he loses rear longevity. Needs something for the last 10 laps of that run. A little adjustment on that 24 car, Dave.
Blaney, the stage winner, said his car was still tight, needs a little help there. As for Kyle Larson, the car faded. He asked at lap 7 to go how many laps were left. That's kind of when it went away, Marty.
Martin Truex Jr. said, that's the best we've been all day long. I was freer. That certainly helped. I need one more step to help us in turns 1 and 2. This pit crew may be using pit stall number 1 to their advantage, but no, Rick, they actually lose some spots here on pit road for Truex.
Yeah, Truex drops spots. Blaney, though, holds the lead on pit road.
Well, you've had an opportunity to see you guys on the track this weekend. What do you think y'all chances are today?
Well, you know with me, man, I'm always going to tell you that we're going to take it to the house. Track house, why? Because the house always wins. Whether on the track or off the track, one way or another, we make it happen. One time, Daniel, Rapido Suarez, and off the chain or off the wall, Chastain, Dolly.
It's great energy down here. That's the kind of energy we all need, Kyle. We got it down here.
You got to hit him with a Dolly. Dolly. Say it.
Dolly.
Ah, you got it.
Dolly, that's it, man. You got to say it.
Jeff, how come you wouldn't say Dolly?
Because I would have sounded like Junior when he said it.
Oh, that's so good.
Well, Pitbull loved it, and I'm sure that he was having a great time down there with you guys. Let's check in on the Peacock Pit Box. All right, DJ, KP, can you say Dolly?
We can say Dolly, and we're going to take it to the pit box because that's where it's happening, down here on the pit box right now. Not up there in the booth, baby, right down here right now. Hey, you know, we've watched this thing, and we talked about it this morning in production. There's been some comers and some goers, in the words of the great Larry McReynolds. But at that time, we talked about cars just running out there and falling off. We saw Bubba Wallace early on, and we saw the 5 car. The first glitch in the armor, we saw the 5 car drop off.
Yeah, and I think some of it came, obviously they came really early, had a lot of laps on their tires, but you know, he raced really hard with Daniel Suarez there, or Suarez raced him really hard. So it was, I think that took his toll there. I told you to watch out for Blaney. He was great there. He came to the front. That's going to be interesting to see if he can hold on to this. But as we start stage 3, I'm really going to watch the 20 car of Christopher Bell now that he's trying. Yeah. Love that young man.
Love that attitude. I'm glad to see that finally he's up on the wheel.
Sarcasm on the radio. That's probably a first that we heard out of Christopher Bell.
You got to be careful because when sarcasm comes back at sarcasm, that's when the fuse really gets lit.
That's a great point. Short fuse. All right, let's have a look at the keys to victory lane, brought to you by Ruoff Mortgage.
Well, you try to limit your risk. We've seen everybody running the wall, and I know we're in the final stage, but even with 96 laps to go, maybe wait just a little bit longer, see if someone else can make a mistake first.
Managing the long run. You know, we just saw the 5-car Larson so fast out front, but just, you know, bled a lot of time out on those last 10 laps at the end of stage 2. So trying to manage the tires and get them to last as long as possible.
Big picture racing, and that's different for every team. What are you here hoping to execute on? What kind of car do you have? Maximize your day. Chris Buescher, a lap down, he has to find a way to overcome that. He's got to be willing to gamble. That's a different situation than Blaney's in. He's leading the race.
Blaney and Byron, 1 and 2, they will restart on the front row.
Martin Truex Jr. will restart outside the top 10. First pit stall, you heard Marty say it, trying to use the first pit stall as their advantage. Good on the right side, come around the left side. Left front is good, but left rear has an issue. I can't tell if the socket fell off the nut, but it looks like he got a little cross-threaded. He had to come back in twice. Frustration out of the team because, once again, end of the race, losing spots on pit road.
And green flag back in the air as the final stage is underway. Blaney in the middle of the track. A 3-car fight for third behind him. Byron strong on the inside. But here comes Blaney back through the middle of the racetrack.
I feel like William Byron's got a really fast car taking off, not quite as good on a long run. Trying to clear Blaney.
Brad Keselowski running that high line already.
Denny Hamlin and Larson really tight off of turn 2. Almost contact right there. There you see that 19 of Truex trying to rebound from that issue on pit road. Made some good ground on this restart using that high line. Trying to continue that move forward. You see the battle for the lead off turn 4.
Byron went to the top in 3 and 4. That gave Blaney the bottom. Blaney took it. Byron a big side draft trying to slow the 12 down.
Limiting how much Blaney could come up the racetrack on that entry to 1.
Oh, they're tight off the 2.
Back to you.
Little side draft down the back straightaway. Byron trying to get the side draft off the 12 car. He's going to make that work. 12 to the bottom, dives down in. Pin to the bottom of the racetrack. Beautiful corner by Blaney right here.
Can he stay in the gas, drifting up the racetrack? He can. He did not have to lift it all to the bottom of the racetrack, trying to break the draft.
Blaney 2 wins on the season. Most recently was Talladega 3 races ago.
I think if William Byron had that all over to do again, he would not have given him the bottom in 3 and 4. He would have just stayed on the bottom, made the 12 go around him on the outside. Now William back to the bottom.
Larson also trying that lower line through 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, as this time Larson running in the 5th spot, but It's Blaney, Byron, Hamlin, Keselowski in front of him. Ross Chastain running in that 6th position with right along the Kubota on board.
It's awesome watching Larson trying to figure out what to do with Brad Keselowski. Where's Brad going to go? Where do I need to go? Brad right to the top of the racetrack. They're trying to match doors. Off the corner, they're going to be able to do it. He side drafts Brad a little bit down the straightaway, even off into the corner. He dives into the corner, going to slide up and take Brad's line away.
This early in the run, running that high, just gives those guys too much of an advantage on the bottom on new tires. You can make lap time on the bottom.
Look at that 3-car too of Austin Dillon. We don't talk about him much this year. It's been a tough year, but done a great job in this race, done a great job on this restart. Starting off stage 3, racing hard in the top 10 here. Putting a little bit of pressure on this 1-car Chastain.
So much has been talked about RCR this year with Kyle Busch coming over and running this first year, making the playoffs.
Yeah, I saw an interview this weekend with Austin, and he was so happy to have a good qualifying run. It's rare when they can really do something a bit better than the 8-car. They're always leaning on that 8-car and using their setups and using their information because they're the faster car. And he was so happy this year, or happy this weekend, to be able to come here and feel like they might be offering something to their teammate, being an asset to their teammate this weekend.
Really close racing here between Chastain and Keselowski.
Both of them dove down in the bottom of the corner. And Chastain, this is a compliment. Might not sound like it, but he drives in the mirror better than anybody else on the racetrack. He uses that digital camera and goes wherever the cars are behind him, taking their line away. Whoa. Oh, Brad's hard in the wall right there.
He got a shove from Truex, and up into the wall goes Keselowski. We'll see how they do down the front stretch here, and how hard did Keselowski hit the wall.
Brad's car was not as good this run so far. Guys flying by him, and I think just trying to push a little bit too hard, trying to find that speed, got into the wall.
I know it was a different corner, but that moment with Chastain getting into one sort of disrupts your timing, disrupts your focus, and you get out of rhythm. And that's when mistakes like that can happen.
Now you see the battle for the lead on top of the screen. Denny Hamlin got by William Byron a few laps ago. See what kind of speed Denny has. You know, this 12 car on the end of that run was really fast. Look at this. Look at the difference in lines right there. Denny entered really low, went up the racetrack. Blaney a more consistent radius around the corner. Battle continues for 8th.
Yeah, I'm surprised by the speed in this 11 car right here. We've seen them run long. They've kind of been off sequence a little bit on tires. Haven't really been able to understand exactly just how good or bad this 11 car is compared to the top 5. And here we are with a great example of just what they're capable of.
A lot of entry speed for the 11. Look at him gain on entry into 1 and also into 3. Then they kind of break even in the middle, and then the 12 has a little better run on corner exit. But overall, that nets Denny Hamlin some track position. See, watch him gain into the corner.
Interesting enough, he's almost follows right in the tire tracks, and he lost a lot right there. For whatever reason, just wasn't able to get back to the gas and finish the corner as well as the 12. But for the last couple of laps, he's really not went far away out of the out of the dirty air to get some grip until right here.
And Steve, with this track position that Denny Hamlin has, does that change the philosophy and the strategy for Chris Gabehart as far as the way he calls maybe this last stop when he brings him to pit road?
It wouldn't for me. When I look back at the second stage, the 11 strategy was the most effective by almost 6 seconds. So I think the 11 running it in the middle, while it's the riskiest because the yellow can make a difference, I believe that's going to be the strategy for the 11, Dave.
Steve, keep your eye on the 12 because the way he races lap to lap may be dictated by this.
Take your fuel a little bit if you can, just to help us on that next stop. Sliding deep, we didn't get quite full there, but we're fine. Just trying to help the next stop. Yeah, definitely.
So there you go, a little bit of a short field there, but wanting to help the next stop save fuel. Can he save fuel out front?
Well, I think you can run a little bit partial throttle here and save a little. And really what I hear there is, hey, look, we have to stop one more time. Everybody does. But we know that fuel is an issue. We could put 13.5 gallons in one of these cars on a normal 4-tire pit stop. If you need more fuel than that to get to the finish, you're going to have a slower pit stop. And we've seen everything change on the pit cycle already.
Out in front, Ryan Blaney now leading laps. He's led 22 today, with Hamlin chasing right behind him. Blaney up front. Let's take a look at the Toyota driver update. Right behind Blaney is the fastest running Toyota with Denny Hamlin behind the wheel. Then it's Martin Truex Jr., Reddick, Bell, and Gibbs, all a part of the top 11 right now. As we're seeing the 5 of Larson begin to challenge Denny Hamlin.
It's going to be fun to watch. Both these cars, I think, just a little bit quicker than the leader of the 12 car. Will they burn their stuff up working and race against each other here and allow Blaney to start to inch away? Everybody now using this very, very high line. But look at the 5. He turns down on corner exit. Tries to throttle up a little sooner, a little harder. He's got to do something different. You're not going to run them down and get right to them running the same exact line. Now this opens up an opportunity here. Denny to the bottom of the racetrack. Larson at the top is going to get a huge run if he does this right. Down the back straightaway.
But Denny, you know, having to try something different, right? We've seen him trying to follow. Here comes the 5 of Larson. He's all the way on the bottom. Watch how long he carries this white line. Tries to really stay on the bottom as long as he can. Now the forward momentum of the 11 car is just going to go by him.
And this is allowing Blaney to get a little bit further out there. As these two start to get more defensive, racing each other, start to pay attention to what each other are doing. A 12 car can run a little bit faster lap time.
0.7 of a second for Hamlin behind Blaney, and about a second behind Larson is Blaney. And Dave.
Rick, this is a fun race to watch, especially after what Denny Hamlin told the media this week. about the high line here, and Kyle Larson's so good at it. They said, you think you're in his category? And Denny said, no, I think I'm better than average, but I don't think I'm in the Larson category about running that high line. As you see, Kyle go back up there now. He said, we manage our risk a little differently, and Denny has been more all over the track this day than Kyle Larson has. Here comes Larson now. Larson will now go to the high side, and Denny will try that quote-unquote Larson line.
Larson doesn't do a slide job right there. Maybe down in turn 1 and 2, he might try that opportunity, but he's going to clear. Pretty impressed by that.
Pushing here.
Levin gives him a shove as he goes into turn 1.
The spotter said pushing you. He's like, yeah, I know, I got it. You know, that was just a great move. You know, he shows you how good his car is. He was able to just stay on that white line, and Hamlin did not cross him over because he just feels like this car of Larson's a little bit faster right now, and just kind of conceding the spot a little bit, knowing that on a long run he needs to save a little bit of tire.
And that right there is frustrating. You watch Larson go into turn 3, maybe 4 inches off the wall, entering on the wall like that. And you know you're just not quite capable of doing that. And that's a hard thing for a driver to admit. And this is the only track where we really hear drivers say, this guy is better than me at this particular thing, right? And I mean, we talk about Reddick and other drivers that actually can run the top, but I don't think anybody is in the class that this guy right here is, Larson, when it comes to running the wall.
Yeah, let's see about Blaney. Let's watch Blaney as he enters turn 1, obviously out there leading the race. You see, he's got a little bit of gap. That's 4 feet away from the wall, 3 feet or so. Larson has inches, you know, and it's just that little bit of difference. But Blaney, until you come up here and take the lead from me, I'm not going to change it. There's no need for me to change it. I have enough speed. You have to prove to me that I've got to put it inches away from the wall. Until then, I'm not going to wreck my car. I'm not going to cause damage to it because you haven't proven you can take the lead.
Now, close to 5 inches right there. I mean, it's insane. And he can do it every lap. You know, a lot of guys, myself, other drivers, we can run that close to the wall. We can get there, but we're going to hit it every, 5 laps, every 10 laps. We're going to run into the wall. Kyle Larson can do this every lap of the race all day long without mistake.
Well, Marty, what about Martin Truex Jr. right now, who's running in the 7th spot?
Yeah, Rick, Steve did a great job of breaking down how Martin Truex Jr. lost 5 spots on that last pit stop. This has been a major frustration point for the 19 team. In the playoffs, they have been ranked 25th the last 3 weeks, outside the top 30, and Martin Truex Jr. has had enough.
Terrible.
Yep, not ideal. We can overcome it though. Still a lot less left.
Yep, we always got to overcome it, don't we? Can't get a pit stop, can't get my car right. Just out here doing it all myself.
So, Steve, you can tell the frustration clearly setting in for Martin Truex Jr., who's up to 6 right now. I know he is a Cup Series champion, but if you're James Small, how do you keep your driver in the game?
Well, at this point, you just have to let him know what's in front of him. I mean, he just got by 1 position right there. That's going to put him up into the 6th position. He's better than Chastain, which can get him to 5th. And then it's going to be all about the green flag cycle. And I think that's the key is listen, Truex has a tremendous amount of talent, but you need to make sure he's executing whatever you need him to do behind the wheel. If you're going to run long on tires or pitch short on tires, you got to continue to communicate. Even though you want to get frustrated and perhaps stop talking to your driver, this is when that relationship is tested. These two have been testing with each other on the radio over the course of their pairing. They just say it's how they communicate, but it is for sure. It sounds heated at times, at least.
Definitely a frustration there in the voice of Martin. And the 11 had a little issue, got into the wall as he was chasing after Kyle Larson.
So Kyle Larson goes by him, and he starts watching Kyle. He starts trying to do what Kyle does, and this is what happens. Man, he was in the fence a long time through that corner, and that's when you risk knocking the sidewall out of the tires and getting a flat. But that's how tempting it is. The 5 goes by, and he's like, hey, man, I'm going to show you how to do this. And you go up there, and you're like, okay, I'm making some time. I was watching Denny. He was actually making a little good time up there. But you try to get more. You try to get more. That's what race car drivers do, and he just stepped over that line.
Discipline and focus. And right now, Kyle Larson has it. He's still chasing down Ryan Blaney, who's out front here at Miami. Great matchup on Sunday Night Football. The Miami Dolphins are in Philadelphia. Face the Eagles. Coverage beginning at 7 p.m. Eastern with Football Night in America on NBC and Peacock. Steve, would you call them juggernauts if they're 1-2 right now as far as yards per game on the offensive side?
Well, I mean, Miami is got to be the fastest team in the NFL. It's unbelievable the speed that they have, and kind of reminds me of these two cars right here. I'm a little shocked at the speed of the 12 and the 5. 5 was great early. 12 got in front of them. Now with 61 to go, it's all about when do you come to pit road. We've seen Hamlin stick to his strategy of splitting up in the middle. I thought in the second stage that was mathematically the better strategy. He ran the stage with the least amount of time on track. So now the question is, what does Blaney do and what does Larson do? I think, you know, if Larson can come to pit road a lap before Blaney, that's probably enough to leapfrog him. But then, you know, when is that? They have 36 laps on the tires. There's 60 to go in the race. So splitting it up even is about lap 218, 219. That's 12 or 13 laps from now. So what will they decide to do? When will they decide to come? And will somebody do something completely out of the box to try to find a way to the front?
Marty.
So, Rick, the interesting part to Steve's conversation is that when the first pit cycle happened with Denny Hamlin and Chris Gabehart, there were about 2 teams that played the game of splitting the stage exactly in half. In stage 2, about 10 teams, Steve. So do you see more teams jumping to that theory, splitting it exactly in half, because it clearly worked for Hamlin in stage 1 and 2?
Yeah, in half worked for Hamlin. But there's a lot of factors. Remember, the 12 is supposed to be saving a little bit of gas, so we'll have to see if he needs more fuel in the pit stop. Lap traffic. Like right here, he's working pretty good through the 34, but if you get to a spot where you think you're going to hit a wall of traffic, you can hit pit road. You would think it's a science, but it's a lot of scientific calculations, and then you kind of shake it in and make it art. You really have to kind of gut check it, use all the information, and then we haven't even talked about getting on and off pit road. Very difficult to get on pit road here and then off pit road with the access line, or access road, excuse me.
Yeah, 100%, Steve. And I think that one thing that happened there is the 12 did a great job of getting through traffic. That was an opportunity for Larson to narrow that gap a little bit, but Blaney just cut right through him. He just found a way to get through that traffic. He did not give Larson much of an opportunity.
Gap has been cut to a half a second now between Blaney and Larson.
And Larson's changed his line. The last few laps, he's run much lower on the racetrack.
A little more traffic as we are starting to see some cars make it to pit road, including the 6, Marty.
Yeah, Rick, some going to the early side of this window with 57 to go here at Homestead-Miami Speedway. Brad Keselowski told Matt McCall, I have lost all my center turn and all my center speed. So McCall doing something here. You see that wedge adjustment for Brad Keselowski, trying to get the car a little bit better. Martin Truex Jr. just told his pit crew, if we do not have a good stop here, we are done. He said it's so tight when we're back in traffic. Whatever you guys can do to help me out a little bit, I need the track position back that we lost. These pit stops happening under green on the early side of the window with 56 to go. We'll see how Truex and this 19 team answers the call after that stop last time under caution when they lost 5 spots at the end of stage 2.
Well, a little slow in the right front already. Come around to the left side. Okay, I'm not going to give it an A. I'll give it a solid B stop for the 19 of Truex. Blaney down the backstretch continues to lead with 55 to go.
He's coming to the bottom of the racetrack.
And the 5's going to chase him in. To your point, Jeff, he cannot allow the 12 to get a lap. Look at the 5 gain to the rear bumper.
Oh, the 5 into the water. The barrier's right at the end of pit road. He slides into him, damage to the right front.
That's going to bring the yellow out. They're going to have to throw the caution to be able to repair those barriers.
Kyle Larson just trying so hard to gain ground on Ryan Blaney. He just misjudged it.
It's badly damaged, this 5 car as well.
I'm sorry. I did not expect him to slow down that much.
There you have it.
5 slid out to avoid the 12, got into those barrels. Sand and water normally in them, sand in them. You see this.
Look how much he's gaining on him, and he has no choice but to turn right or run into the back of Blaney. He turns right and gets the end of the pit wall. Just way too much speed here.
heavy, heavy damage with these barrels.
Yeah, you have to wonder, the pit road speed starts right there past the barrel, or right at the very, just past the barrels, about 10 feet. You have to wonder what speed was Blaney doing? That contact to the back of the left rear of the 12 probably is going to help things. It bowed out the quarter panel just behind the wheel. That's not a good thing aerodynamically, but I'm not sure that Blaney wasn't doing a good job getting on pit road. Maybe the 5 was actually cooking it onto pit road a little bit too much.
Yeah, and Larson said, I just didn't expect him to slow down that much. So Larson didn't feel like he was going too quickly. Once he got to the position where he knew he was in trouble, now he's just locked up, and he's no longer about making pit road speed. It's just trying to avoid contact. But we see this. We see the effort by the teams to push the drivers, pit road entry, in lap, out lap, that everybody's being measured in everything that they do, and that was Kyle Larson just trying to push. Now, check out the speed and the pointers. Here we go.
Blaney's slowing down right here.
So they're looking for pit road speed. I mean, Blaney looks to me that he's overslowing. I mean, he's almost to pit road speed. Yeah, he's 5 or 6 below pit road speed. You would think, I mean, it's hard to tell.
Yeah. Pit road speed's 45, but you don't get busted until you go 54.9, right? So you really want to be going, you really want to be going,
50.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you want to be going 50.
So the question, Jeff, right, it's not 50 dead at the line. Sometimes, I mean, it's once again, it's a little bit of an art. You know, sometimes you're maybe 51 over the line, and then you slow down extra to give it back. It wasn't egregious by the 12 car, but it's also, I think the 5 would have made pit road speed. It didn't look like he was going too fast.
I have to agree with you, Steve. I think that was a little conservative on the 12, but the 5 was probably going to do just fine. He wasn't going to get busted on speeding, but just came in a whole lot more aggressive.
Well, even if the 5's going over speed, he's got that entire distance to get slowed down because it's time over distance. You have X amount of feet to run an average of 50 by 49.9 miles per hour. So you can come in speeding, you just got to get it slowed down.
Heavy damage to the 5, a good break for Blaney. 1, he didn't get spun on pit road, but 2, we'll confirm with NASCAR, but currently scoring shows him the middle of the lead lap, but the only lead lap car that has pitted, so he'll instantly become the leader of the race. Not so good for Truex, who'll be trapped a lap down.
Larson, who has led the most laps into the barrels at the entrance to pit road, bringing caution out here. 51 laps to go in this race, and because of the cleanup at the entrance to pit road, the red flag has come out. And so while the safety crews and the track crews go to work cleaning up the sand that came out of the barrels when the 5 hits the barrel here, take a look at this and listen.
You can see how quick it happens from in the car. Right, Larson just trying to gain. Felt like the 12 was going slower than he needed to be. And now he's just in big trouble. Just trying to get everything he can.
The
day over for the 5.
Yeah, 5's day was complete. He went behind the wall and into the garage.
So now, other than the obvious winners and losers, which Larson being the biggest loser because he's now out of the race, Ryan Blaney continued on to pit road, pitted, and with the yellow coming out, didn't go a lap down because everybody else was slowing down. So Blaney's service is done, and he's still in the lead lap. So when pit road does open, he's the only lead lap car that does not need to pit, so he will take over the race lead. Hamlin, Byron, Dillon, Reddick, they'll come to pit road, and we'll see who beats who off pit road. Either way, they'll line up behind the 12. Now, unfortunately, the loser in this situation, and bad luck chases this car. I'm somewhat baffled at the playoffs that the 19 of Martin Truex Jr. has had. Some, I think it's on them for decisions and speed, but this is purely just a bad break. They had serviced their car 1 lap ago, and now he'll take the wave around, but with 16, 17 cars in lead lap, he's going to restart inside 50 to go, outside the top 15. I mean, I know we say you make your own luck, and I think at times the 19 has, but in this situation, Jeff, it's just bad luck, if you can believe it. It's awful.
Yeah, that just got, it wasn't a wrong decision. It just didn't work out for him, Marty.
Yeah, Jeff, but the pit stop did not help. Steve, I think you gave it a grade of a B. Martin Truex goes much lower. Here was the radio.
Oh, joke. I ain't doing that no more. So we're going to have to wait here. I don't care.
Truex, man, you can tell he is upset on the radio, Steve. So I'll ask you again. You're James Small. You got to keep him in the game here, because if you look at where the points are right now, they're only 1 below the cut line heading to Martinsville, where he has 3 wins. So Truex knows they got a great track coming up, but he's very frustrated right now.
Well, he's frustrated because first it was a slow pit stop, and then here I don't think he was frustrated with the pit stop right there. I think that was the reaction to the yellow. There's moments where you need to try to motivate your driver or coach your driver. Then there's other times that, all it's going to do is perhaps make him more angry. And I would have this as one of those times. I would let it all cycle out. I'd let him try to cool off. There's no doubt Martin Truex Jr. is going to drive the wheels off this thing to the finish. So I would just physically tell him where we stand. When this all cycles out, we're this many below the cut line, you're in this position. In front of you, you're going to have lap down and lead lap cars who are for position, and then just be quiet and let him and the spotter go to work. With 50 to go here, you could have 3 or 4 more yellows. You could have more pit stops. Anything can happen. But Truex already knows that, and I don't think Truex wants to hear that at this point.
Let's check in with Dave and the crew chief of the 12.
That is Jonathan Hassler, and he saw all that go down. A couple questions to unwrap here. First of all, was that any different entry than before for Ryan under green? Is your car damaged, and do you think you'll cycle out to the lead here?
Yeah, I think Ryan had a pretty normal pit road entry there. I think the 5 was just a little hot, ended up obviously missing it. We have a little bit of damage on the right rear, but it's nothing we're overly concerned about, so we'll should be able to stay out here and restart with the lead.
We saw him working so hard at what Kyle Larson is good at, the best at, I would say. He's out of the race now. What does Ryan do from here on out to take it home?
Yeah, I think we just need to, manage the lead. It's certainly a long run, short run compromise here, so we'll have to fight a little bit early on to keep the lead, but certainly want to save some tires for the end.
Good day so far for the 12. We'll see how it pans out, guys.
All right, Steve. So currently, under this red flag condition, it's the driver of the 11, Denny Hamlin, who is leading the race. Let's see if we can get him on the radio.
Let's try to chat here. Hey, DH, it's the NBC booth. You got a copy?
10-4.
Well, we were all wondering what kind of strategy we were going to see out of the 11 here in this final green flag cycle, but with this yellow, it's kind of cut short. Blaney looks like he had his service, but you'll lead the cars to pit road. What do you think about the chances of the 11? It's looked good so far this race.
Yeah, definitely battle back today for sure. 12 strong. I think, we've got one of the best cars on the short run, so we see if we can have a good stop here and then challenge them on the restart. And if we can get out front, it'll be tough, but certainly think we got a shot at it.
How do you manage this final run and maybe multiple final runs? Risk versus reward. I know a win is the golden ticket, but points, Martinsville, so much still ahead of you. Is it all the here or the now, or do you look ahead to next week and try to score what you can?
Yeah, I'm trying to do the best I can here for sure. Focus on Martinsville tomorrow. It's about any other race. I try to manage it the best I can, manage risk. I'm doing an awful job right now, getting in the wall, cut tires at risk. So it just kind of need to be aware of what's going on and get the best finish out of my car possible.
All right, we appreciate you taking the time. I'd bring you a straw if I could, but I can't quite get you a straw from here. All right, there you go. That's even better. Good luck the rest of the day.
Yeah, he's making it difficult to grab a drink there without a straw. But Denny Hamlin is out in front. A red flag condition for this. The track cleanup continues after Larson hit the barrels at the entrance to pit road. Sand everywhere. Cleanup continues from Homestead-Miami Speedway on the entrance to pit road, and because of all the sand, they have brought the red flag out, and so that is why the cars are parked right now on the back stretch. The reason for this red flag is the 5 of Kyle Larson got into the barrels. He is out of the race and now standing by with Kim.
And we saw Kyle chase Ryan Blaney onto pit road. Walk us through what happened and what was going through your head in that split-second decision making.
Oh, I haven't seen a replay. I'm sure it looked. I was just maximizing all I could, and I didn't expect him to slow down so early. I was just trying to get to the yellow line as quickly as possible, and felt like I was in control. And then, from my vantage point, it slowed down a lot. But I mean, from there, it just looks like I bombed it in there. So I just need to look at some data and see where I was relative to pit road speed and all that. But I hate it for Ryan more than anything. It's just, he was doing a super good job out front, and his team's been doing a really good job throughout the playoffs, and that was not my intention. I was just trying to get to as close to his back bumper as I could to hopefully have a good cycle and have a better pit stop and come out in front of him and control the race from there. So just upset more than anything with myself. Even if he did slow down early, I still should have not pushed that hard. So just a bummer, and hopefully his team can recover from it.
The good news is you're already locked into the championship 4 with your win last weekend, but How do you keep this from killing the momentum you guys had?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think we had a great car today, so speed-wise, that was good. The second stage kind of got away from me, and I lost, control of the lead there. Would have loved to have been able to, win that stage and restart in the lead for the final stage, and none of this probably would have happened. So, yeah, just got to learn from little mistakes, and little mistakes just kind of compound throughout your whole race, and then you end up in the care center because of it.
So you hear the frustration in Kyle Larson's voice. Again, they continue to clean up that entrance to pit road with a red flag condition. But with that, right now, as the points stand, you have the 11 of Denny Hamlin as the race leader. So if he could continue on in that role, which we know he won't because they're going to come to pit road, but whoever wins this race could get an automatic bid to the championship 4.
Yeah, well, I feel it's going to be a playoff car. While we do have some non-playoff cars up there, I think Byron's right there. Blaney's had a great car. We see the 11 up there. I think Kyle Larson had a pretty good assessment of what happened there. I think we're the same way. We don't know who was too fast or who wasn't, but the simple fact is you're chasing another car onto pit road, so I put that mistake on the 5 of Larson. I do agree with him. They brought great speed here, but the Blaney car is the one that really has amazed me. He kind of jumped up on the radar back at the Coke 600 and won that race. I just didn't see this style of racetrack kind of fitting the Penske Fords. He was good in practice, and he's been good all day today. And now a little bit of luck to go with a solid race car. Maybe today's the day for him.
Still 51 laps to go. Drivers, as the yellow flag has come back out, do you see anybody challenging either Hamlin or Blaney for the win of this race?
Well, when you see the favorite go out like we just saw Larson do, everybody in this field sort of notices that, and they all think, man, now I got a shot. Because when we come to Homestead, we all assume that Larson is the man to beat. Well, now he's no longer in this race. We know the 12 is leading the race and running well, but this really opens it up confidence-wise for a lot of drivers. And now we're getting late in this race where everybody's got to start pushing it. You might have been a little conservative, maybe not running right against the wall all day long, trying not to hit the wall, trying to take care of your car. Now you're going to have to go out there and push it to the limit. And who can do that and do it well without making the big mistakes?
And what kind of race do we get, right? So in 4 of 6 final green flag runs on 1.5 mile tracks this year, it's been 20 laps or less. So are we going to get a rash of cautions? Are the cars that are good takeoff speed, are they the ones going to have an advantage? We don't know, and by the way, they don't know, but I can assure you that what you have to be doing right now is racing hard on this restart to get track position, and of course, that's when we see cautions.
Let's check back in with the Peacock Pit Box as we do a race recap of how we got to this point with just 50 laps to go.
Yeah, listen, this has been exciting. I didn't see that one coming. There's a lot of things that have happened here, but I did not see that coming.
Yeah, and a lot has happened during this, as we saw, and as we go back with the race recap here. This has been basically a Kyle Larson day, although Brad Keselowski was up in there. We've seen different ones, William Byron showing up, and so it's been fun to watch. Get a little action.
See Stenhouse here, he gets in the wall a little bit. They break the right rear, he spins around, but as we thought, the 5 car of Lawson, or Kyle Larson wins the first stage.
Yeah, and then as they came to pit road to get these cars serviced, you can see a few things going on here. Yeah. A lot happening with the 11. They lost a little bit of time, a number of spots with this. You see these guys working extremely hard, just so much happening with this. And then the racing just intensified on the track.
Listen, and Blaney, and I agree with everything those guys have said, that just said before they came on. Nobody saw Blaney. I didn't see Blaney. We saw him at the 600. This didn't really fit in their wheelhouse, but this is the thing that's going to define the day. We see the 12 car. Larson just said he thought he slowed down a little bit. We saw Larson say, I was being overly aggressive. You had an excellent point comparing the Tuesday.
Well, they're in 2 different situations to where the 5 car is already in and Blaney's being conservative on pit road. Kim.
And William Byron free in and off. He said the back end's just out of the racetrack. It's killing his corner. He did get into the wall a little bit those last couple of laps. You saw that chassis adjustment, 4 fresh Goodyear tires, trying to get him back to where he was in stage 2, Dave.
They asked Denny Hamlin to be a little bit more aggressive coming onto pit road. 4 tire change, fixing a car that's a little bit loose late in the run, Marty.
Welcome back to the top 10, Christopher Bell. After a ton of changes from Adam Stevens, Bell said the car took off way better on that run. Still a little too free on exit. Tyler Reddick said he's pretty happy with with the long run balance of the 45 as the drag race happens off of pit road. Denny Hamlin will win the race off pit road, but Reddick said the car just gets a little bit too tight at the end of the run, Rick.
3 spots gained by Kevin Harvick on pit road. A couple also gained by Bell, but it was Hamlin who won the race off of pit road. Again, the 12 can stay out on track to take the lead.
Martinsville. Isn't it charming? But don't be fooled. This half mile of mayhem is looking to rob 4 drivers of their championship dreams.
It's a must-win situation. Oh, unbelievable.
Time is now, boys.
He's won his way into the championship.
Tick tock. The NASCAR playoffs continue at Martinsville on NBC.
And what will you do to make it to the championship 4? Again, next week it's Martinsville, and the field gets cut in half from 8 playoff drivers down to the championship 4. And of those 4 drivers, whichever one finishes ahead of the other at Phoenix is the champion. And we look at the playoff standings with Blaney as the race leader. You see him under Larson, who has a win already from a week ago. Byron and Hamlin above the cut line. Bell, Truex below the cut line, right around that 16 to 18 point mark. And then Reddick back there 28. Buescher really in a must-win situation, 59 points out.
And Christopher Bell is going to restart 6th. Truex, after that reset, Steve explained it, he's going to probably start somewhere around 20th. Reddick, we saw him come off pit road, almost got in a wreck, lost several spots on pit road. So every point matters, and several guys are having challenges.
And Truex is 20th, to your point, Jeff. He's 20th in the running order, but on the racetrack, because it's a wave-around car, I mean, you see him, you're on board, Truex. You don't see cars in front of you because you're getting ready to see the entire field or some of the field. There's a few other wave-around cars. My point is he won't be the 20th car in line on the racetrack. He'll actually have lap-down cars in front of him, making the challenge more difficult. How about Kevin Harvick? I know we said his name a lot at the start because the race is named after him, but here he is inside the top 5.
And as the race gets toward its conclusion, these final restarts intensify. Watch the pushers in row 2, who can be the best pusher to try to help the car in front of them get down into turn 1 and maybe either get clear and try to take the line away from, if Denny can get a great push from this 4 car, he could drive down into 1, clear, and take the line away from the 12. Vice versa, if that could happen on the top lane, Blaney gets the lead and clear off of 2. So that's important, getting that great push.
Only 47, now 46 when they get to the line. Laps remaining to determine, can someone lock themselves into the championship 4?
So Harvick didn't get a good start there. Now he's 3 wide.
Allmendinger fights him to the inside.
12 had a problem in the middle of the corner, got really slow. 11 got by him, and look at the run coming from Bell.
Bell to the inside of Blaney. He'll try to take second away and sliding in and hitting the walls of 15. The 42's also involved. Another car here as well. That's the one of Ross Chastain.
He's got right front damage.
All right, bring it to us. Bring it to us this time. Guys, I think it's right front toe link.
J.J. Yaley making hard contact in the 15 with the inside wall.
And that is the break Truex wanted, right? So all these cars are damaged down here, but that is a break Truex wanted because now he can go line up right with the cars that are on the lead lap with him.
That might be the first good break he's got in all the playoffs.
John Hunter Nemechek in the 42 also involved. There we see the AMR safety crew to these drivers. And window net's still up for John Hunter Nemechek. That's J.J. Yaley. And you see the extensive damage to the front of the 15.
Junior, you talked about it. Intensity is going to pick up on these late race restarts. Everybody pushing a little bit harder. We saw Chastain in it. He was one of those wave around cars along with Martin Truex and several others.
John Hunter. Yeah, I was going to say it's hard to tell. Yeah, hard to tell with the visor down. It looks like John Hunter.
So a break for Martin Truex Jr.
How about that restart, Jeff? You mentioned the 12. I couldn't tell if the 12 had an issue. The 11 had the best corner, but I mean, it was the 11 came off turn 2 with a 5 or 6 car length lead.
Yeah, Blaney drove in the corner and just got really slow in the middle of 1 and 2, and Hamlin just took advantage of it. And I'm not so sure without that caution that Blaney wouldn't have also lost second place to Bell.
I gotta wonder, you know, we talk about these bodies on these cars not being quite as, you know, vulnerable to aero, but there was some contact with the 5 car on the pit road, right? And it bows that right rear quarter panel out somewhat on that 12 car, and I wonder if that's catching a little air.
Or maybe there's even damage underneath, right? Maybe something we can't see. We know how sensitive the underneath is because there was definitely contact.
We'll see right here what happened. You see the 1 car top of the screen, 42, the 15 on the bottom of the screen.
A lot of cars in the same spot, you know, 3 wide, 4 wide, just not so sure if everybody knew. See right there.
The 42 into the 6, the 6 into the 1, turns the 1 sideways. And they all big contact for Brad on that outside line.
And John Hunter Nemechek in that 42 car, that's the first time he's driven that car this year. So, you know, working with a new spotter, maybe a little bit of communication.
I can concur. It gets tight off of turn 2 on these late restarts.
I was waiting for that.
You're not referring to yesterday, are you?
He's got his hands all the way off the wheel. That's the key from the wheel jamming his wrist, breaking his thumbs. And you know when all this started to happen, a little bit of contact,
The 9 and the 19 had a little slight contact with the right front. Marty?
Yeah, Brad Keselowski and Martin Truex Jr. coming down pit road. Keselowski had actually pitted the last time, and so that's why they were so far back on the track, and that's why they also got into that wreck. So they're going to pull the right front fender and left front fender here for Keselowski. Steve, how about this call by James Small, putting on a set of sticker Goodyear tires here. We'll see how much of an advantage that gives them. That will leave them 1 set left today.
Yeah, well, and the set you just took off has probably so fewer laps that they could probably put that back on if they need, but I love it. You got to keep swinging. Points are still available.
Martin Truex Jr. had restarted because of the wave around behind numerous cars. And so now with this caution coming out so quickly, he'll be able to get back in line with all the lead lap cars after this accident has happened. 4 cautions already today from Miami. in southern Florida, just a little bit south of Miami for this, the second race of the round of 8. And Kevin Harvick, after a great pit stop, will restart it inside that top 5. This race named for Kevin Harvick, the Forever 400, thanks to Mobil 1. Because Kevin Harvick is retiring at the end of the year, he'll be a broadcaster in 2024. He wrote a letter to Josh Berry, who has been tagged as taking over the 4 ride, and here's him reading it.
This seat you're about to sit in, it's a seat that comes with perceived expectations. One where people will write your story before it's even written. I've been there before.
Are you ready for this race?
Is SHR making the right decision?
They'll call you my replacement, say you're filling my seat, comparing you and me. But the truth is, they've got it all wrong. Because the number 4 requires more than simply filling a seat. It requires someone to take the wheel and carry on a legacy. A legacy not defined by wins alone. One that can't be taught or bought, but a short track mentality that takes a true racer's blood.
I love that he brings that short track mentality.
This team was built intentionally, and now we're moving forward purposefully because you aren't just some guy filling this seat. You demand what the 4 requires. You've built quietly, but brilliantly, resilient in the face of obstacles, calculated in your approach, fierce as a competitor, there when it matters. How could we not notice? You're the racer for this ride. As my chapter closes and you take the wheel, I'm leaving you in the best hands I can, with the best advice I have. Do things your way, but realize your team is your foundation. Perfection is in the details. Set expectations, grind every lap. Make this seat your own and don't apologize for it. Even when it seemed the path was chosen for me, I did it my way. And whether people cheer me or boo me, that unapologetic attitude is what made me. And in many ways, probably saved me.
They can boo all they want, I don't care.
You're joining an organization that embraces that racer's way. One that doesn't take any shit.
I'm gonna bust his ass.
The only expectation at SHR? To win. I've had some of the best moments in my life in the 4. Heck, it gave me a championship. But it wasn't by chance. This entire team worked their ass off. My hope is the 4 is as good to you as it's been to me. Remember, you're in control now. Demand a standard, take care of your team, and the 4 will reward you. Josh, the wheel is yours.
It was this racetrack back in 2014, the first time that Kevin Harvick and Rodney Childers had been paired together at Stewart-Haas Racing. They went on to win the championship back in 2014 as Kevin now puts a close on this final chapter of his racing career before he becomes a broadcaster next year. Josh Berry will take over this ride, but a Hall of Fame career for what we have seen out of Kevin Harvick.
Well, yeah, an amazing career. I'm excited to see him in the broadcast booth. I think he's going to do a great job up there. Always has great perspective and always has a real opinion. And I think that's important for this job, to be able to give his opinion. And no one better than a guy who has won the championship and a guy that has won 60 races, right? So when he has an opinion, competitors may not love everything he has to say, but I guarantee it's, has a lot of experience behind it.
Kim.
And I talked with the team this morning, and they told me what a special week it's been with that paint scheme. Budweiser back on the car. That's the scheme he won this race and the title with in 2014. And crew chief Rodney Childers told me, same driver, same crew chief, same car chief, some of the same engineers, the same shop foreman. So it was a very, very special week. They took lots of pictures. We saw how he was honored with the title of this race, how he got to choose the dignitaries for this race. And you can never count him out here, guys, because he has 10 top 5 finishes in the last 15 races here. Marty currently finds himself in the 5th position.
Kim, Christopher Bell sits in the 4th position. I just asked Adam Stevens, how many changes have you guys made today? He said, I've lost track, to be honest. He said, we have a terrific short run car. He asked, Christopher Bell said to Adam, should we split this in half with 40 laps to go? He said, I don't think so, bud. So Bell is back in the game with a good car on short runs. We'll see if it plays to their advantage.
We're
going to talk a lot about the 4 playoff drivers at the front because a win could advance one of those to the championship 4. But Martin Truex Jr. back in 16th, looking at the points, this could be the restart that gives him a chance again next week to advance. So a lot to watch.
You mentioned restarts. Who's good on restarts? Well, Denny Hamlin. He ranks 3rd on restarts this year. Bell, he ranks 5th. Blaney is 8th. Byron 18th. So we'll see if that trend continues. As they come out of 4, there will be 38 laps to go. Green flag. Back out. This time, Blaney up to speed better.
Is he going to get the front turn down here? 1 and 2 he's looking for. He's going to be able to stay on the outside of that 11. Much better restart for the 12. Side by side down the back straightaway. Here comes the 20.
Who's the push coming to? 3 wide, no pushing. I'm going to try to take the lead.
Blaney to the bottom of the racetrack. They're side by side, door to door, up high.
Bell's long gone. Still 3 wide for second.
Will Byron clear them both for second?
3 wide for second continues. Blaney on the high side. This is what Harvick's looking at. He has to get out of the gas.
Oh, the 11 almost into the side of the 12 again off of 2.
The fight for second continues. No one taking an advantage. Now the 24 is going to drift up the racetrack and take that second spot. C. Bell out
Denny.
front.
Whoa!
Denny was going to slide up in front of him, just couldn't get there.
And there's a huge running coming from behind. They are upset at each other.
Yeah, Blaney had to lift. They lost all kinds of momentum.
Harvick on the bottom of the racetrack with Logano just above him, and the 3 of Dillon. 3 wide there.
Finally, Blaney clears, man. He has to be he's fuming right now. Now he's going to try to buckle down, get him some distance on that 11 car and try to run down that 24 for second. But this has cost Blaney. A guy looked like he was going to win this race. And he's sticking with him, though. Down into turn 3 and 4. Denny to the top of the racetrack. Back to the gas. He's got a pretty decent run coming.
Good momentum here. Hamlin's going to close the gap on Blaney. Gets to his back bumper. They both go to the middle. Now Blaney goes middle, and Hamlin gets up next to the wall. Can the momentum help him on the backstretch?
And Blaney with good run right here, though. Not enough off throttle time with new tires for Hamlin to use that upper lane to gain an advantage. So now he's going to go to the bottom. Early downshift, you heard him. Now the goal is to try to keep momentum the same as the 12. 12 is sideways. You saw his hands moving in the race car. He's way too loose on corner exit.
Side draft there by Hamlin.
Hamlin drove it in there really deep, sliding up the racetrack.
12's coming back on the bottom, though. I don't know if it's a big enough run to really compete down the back straightaway. They're almost side by side now. There's a side draft. They're even. Yeah, Blaney's car is just not really comfortable right here. He's hoping it comes to him quickly, though. Denny will have the advantage on the top.
Those two continue to fight for third. Bell and Byron in front of them by a second.
And behind this, Truex on those tires, he's gone.
Oh, into the wall hard as the 11. Denny Hamlin hard into the wall in turn 1.
Caution, caution, caution.
Massive contact. Big damage to the right front of that car.
Something broke at the steering.
Oh, something broke.
Yeah, that car went straight into turn 1, right into the fence.
Hard contact for Denny Hamlin. Before the contact, Denny Hamlin 10 points above the cut line. We'll see how this is going to affect this team.
Down the front straightaway. Let's take a look. Off into the corner. Yeah, looks like either the right front went down or something in the steering. The toe link broke. I'm not quite sure, but that car goes straight into the fence. You've seen it sort of jolt. Watch his steering wheel. Watch the steering wheel. See if anything happens there. Oh, did you see his steering wheel jerk out of his hands right there?
He even shifted. He went down to shift, too, and it looked like the steering wheel.
There was some contact between he and the 12. You wonder if he didn't cut a sidewall on a tire or something like that happened, because when in those battles, there was contact. Did something get damaged? Did a tire get cut in that battle with Blaney?
Whatever happened, you can almost see the wheel get yanked out of his hands, Marty.
Denny Hamlin with a steering issue, and his teammate Martin Truex Jr. with an issue as well. This was under green a moment ago.
Yeah, I thought my motor was feeling bad. Got no power. I think it might be blowing up.
And you can see the oil coming from the tailpipe, Steve. He said it's running rough. It's cutting off. They've asked him to go to page 3 on the screen right in front of him to try and diagnose it. But it looks like the engine for the 19 is not going to live. What a cruel 5-minute turn for Joe Gibbs Racing with Hamlin and Truex having an issue.
Yeah, 2 with an issue. Bell leading. So you go to page 3 to try to diagnose it and see if there's something you could try to do to limp this thing home. But you see the smoke coming out the pipe, so definitely some sort of an internal issue for the 19 car. And guys, for the 11, it looks like the right front tire on the car still has air in it, sitting right here, right? It's not on the wheel. So I think you guys both called it, the movement in the wheel. There wasn't really any sparking like it went down onto the car at any point or any of the rub blocks or anything. So something in the steering, I mean, all of these cars have hit the wall multiple times today. It's going to be very interesting to see what Joe Gibbs Racing, Chris Gabehart, and this 11 team finds what was finally the moment that let go. And it might be hard to understand after the hard contact post-failure.
Denny's climbed out of the car. There's Coach on the bottom of the screen.
And you can hear in the background, you can hear Truex engine. It's sick. It is not running right at all. Winding that down on Truex's car.
He's going to climb out as well. Marty.
They're done, Rick. Yep. And Truex did say, if I shut it off, I feel like it will not start. And James Small said, shut it off. We're done. And Truex now being pushed back to the garage. What a crazy 5 minutes for this race team.
Well, a year ago, only 2 playoff drivers finished in the top 10 here, and it looked like it was going to be the exact opposite this year. They filled the top 10 other than Buescher, but now it's Bell, Byron, Blaney, 1, 2, 3. Reddick, the other one in the top 10, running 8th.
Truex and Hamlin both will be behind the wall.
Pit road's not been open yet because the 11 car has a wrecker hooked up to it on pit road, so they cannot open it yet. And Steve, there's going to be some difficult decisions to be made right here.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the leaders with 8 laps on your tires, I think the decision is clear. I think you have to come to pit road here. The question is, farther down, Chase Elliott running 14th was just on pit road. He has a few less laps on his tires. Will someone else decide to stay out? But, I mean, I really believe this track is as hard on tires as Darlington. I think it's a must pit.
You saw Chris Gabehart, the crew chief for Denny Hamlin, just giving him words of encouragement. It's a bad break, but there's another chance next week. We're going to go to battle and go to Martinsville, a place where Denny Hamlin has had success. This is not over for us. He was trying to build that mindset. Look, tough break. You did a great job. Got us in position to win this race. We are not done.
What a swing.
Big swing. Bell, Byron, and Blaney still 3 playoff drivers. They're running 1, 2, 3 with an opportunity to win their way into the championship 4.
Think about the race that Bell had a week ago, right? Second in one stage, third in the other, finished second in the race, and was so dejected leaving. Now he has the chance to put that behind him. And here's that decision you talked about, Jeff. I think everyone's coming to pit road. So if that's the case, then it's right back on the pit crew.
Kim.
And William Byron said he's a little tight, but he can drive through. He said, give me a little bit more turn to help my entry. That fire off, though, he said, was much better the last time. They did make a slight air pressure adjustment on those 4 fresh Goodyear tires, Dave.
For Ryan Blaney, can they fix what was wrong on that last restart? Can he get the fire off speed that he needs with this 4-tire change, Marty?
Dave, what an incredible recovery for Christopher Bell. Now can the pit crew deliver and keep him in the lead? Bell very happy with the fire off speed. Meanwhile, Tyler Reddick said, I just need a little bit more long run speed. I could tell where that was heading. Now the drag race off pit road. Look at that. And William Byron and his team will gain a few spots, Rick.
Yeah, Byron, Blaney, and then Bell. So Bell loses 2 spots on pit road. Harvick holds on to that 4th spot. Logano gains 1 to get in the top 5 coming off of pit road. It was this right here, the 11 of Hamlin slamming into the wall in turn 1, brings a caution out, and also Mark Truex Jr. out of the race with an engine issue. Playoff driver issues from right here at Homestead-Miami Speedway. Coming to pit road, the 5 of Larson slides into the barrels at the entrance to pit road, and he is out of the race.
Yeah, the only driver locked in with a win last week. Looked like he had a chance to go back-to-back in victory lane, makes contact, puts us under red flag, and then that set off a chain of events that has not stopped for the playoff drivers. Next up, Denny Hamlin, mechanical issue straight into the wall.
Yeah, watch the steering wheel. Yeah, jerks really hard. Air in the tire, so something broke into Denny Hamlin's day. Chris Gabehart saying it's going to be okay, and then right behind it, Martin Truex.
Yeah, under this caution, the 19 team thinks they have an issue. There you see the smoke coming out of the tailpipes. They brought him to pit road. He's out of the race.
2 weeks in a row, Christopher Bell comes in for the last stop with the lead and comes out third. 2 weeks in a row. Can he turn it around and find a way to win this race?
And again, a win advances to the championship 4 if you're a playoff driver. Field now behind Byron and Blaney. Blaney in the 12 on the outside. Byron 24 on the inside. 25 laps to go.
Blaney fighting hard on the outside there. Much better restart for him on new tires. Side by side, here comes a 20 with a run. Does he go to the bottom of the racetrack?
Byron's had good speed on the short runs all day, not good on long runs. He needs to get this lead right now.
Just can't clear the 12 right here. Here comes, there's a 12, Blaney. Back by down the front straightaway. The 24 is going to side draft a little bit. They even out into 1.
24 surging ahead, and the 12 drops back to second. Now, with that lower line, the 12's fighting back on the inside.
Big run bottom, stop the air, stop the air.
24 trying to block him there.
Back up.
As Blaney had a little bit of a run. Good defense by Byron to be able to keep the lead.
That's allowed Bell to catch these guys. Bell underneath the 12 car. Can he get side by side?
So much on the line for these playoff drivers. A guaranteed spot at Phoenix for the championship race. Bell now even with the 12. Can Bell clear Blaney? He does as Blaney wiggles a bit. So Bell's up to second.
Blaney got a little bit tight down there in 1 and 2. The 20 wrapped the bottom really good. Can Bell chase after this 24 car, closing the gap on the leader?
Now it's a guessing game. Christopher Bell is trying to decide where William Byron is going. He wants to go the opposite. Is William going to go to the top? Is he going to go to the bottom? If he goes to the top, you want the bottom. You want clean air. It's a guessing game at the moment.
To the bottom for both of them. Bell right on that white line. Byron drifts off of it as they go down the backstretch.
Blaney's falling back to third, but remember, he has had the best car on a long run today. Will this happen again, and will he have enough time to make it up?
Yeah, is 22 laps enough to develop that long run speed? If the 20 and the 24 can get up there and aggravate each other, that's definitely going to bring that 12 car back into this battle.
A year ago, we saw Christopher Bell win his way into the championship 4 from Martinsville, which is the next race. If he could get in front and win this race here, lock himself into the championship 4 a race earlier. Another great opportunity as we take a look at the progressive telemetry of Christopher Bell.
Blaney's hanging in there.
Yeah, he is. Christopher Bell guessed wrong in 1 and 2 that last corner. Lost a lot of ground. He got tight in the dirty air of that 24 car. Now Bell all the way to the bottom of the racetrack. That was a better corner.
Top 3 separated pretty equidistant. First to second, second to third.
Now Byron's moved up the racetrack here a little bit. 20 tries to close in the middle of the corner.
This will have to be William Byron's best run of the day if he wins this race. He has not been good after 6 or 7 laps.
Yeah, the 20's been a little bit quicker, been able to close the gap on this 24. Christopher Bell talks about not being great here, not loving running the high side, but he's going to have to figure it out to be able to make this pass.
Both in the middle of the racetrack. Now Bell with a little momentum has to get out of the gas. He's running right in the tire tracks of William Byron.
Yeah, Byron faded down just a little bit right there to try to take the air away from the 20. He's just watching that mirror. He's getting information from his spotter as well as to where that 20 car is going, where the 20's running in every single corner, so he can try his best to dirty up the air for that second place car. Blaney's lost a little bit of touch to these two.
Byron 6 wins already on the season. The winningest driver in the playoffs. The winningest driver.
Stoked up right there.
The 20 gains on him pretty good right there in the middle of 3 and 4. But down here in 1 and 2, the 20 runs the bottom. The 24 does too. And that makes it difficult. Now the 20 fades high. See if he can make some speed up in this higher groove.
And that surprised William Byron. And there's a run coming right now from the 20 car. Good forward momentum.
Here comes Bell. Does he try the slide job as they go into 3? No, he tucks back in. He'll go to the wall.
He liked that high side in 1 and 2, so he thought, man, I might try it down here again, but the 24 runs it as well.
I'm not even sure William Byron's looking out of the windshield at the moment. He is glued in on that rear view camera, trying to block big time that 20 car.
Now William, you're getting that information right there to the bottom. He says that means where the 20 car went. He went to the bottom. He didn't go to the top of the racetrack.
Bell's got to jump here. He's got an opportunity. William is struggling.
Half lane, full lane lower. Just try to work the middle there.
Oh, the 20 throttles up. He might get to the quarter panel. We're side by side to the flag stand.
15 laps to go. Now for the lead, Bell on the inside. Byron gassing it up on the outside, trying to keep that momentum up as he goes almost all the way up to the wall.
20's clear on the 2. Into the lead, Christopher Bell.
It's about an hour ago, Christopher Bell didn't think he could run 20th. Almost got lapped.
Pulling away from Byron is Bell. 14 laps to go.
And behind them, Tyler Reddick has run Blaney down. Blaney's struggling with this race car. Tyler Reddick, 10 points out right now of that last spot in the playoffs. Every position's going to matter.
As they run, you see the points on the lower left of your screen. Bell as the leader. Right behind Larson, who's already won. Byron 33 points above the line. Blaney 10. Reddick, Truex Jr., Hamlin, and Buscher all below the cut line.
Yeah, Blaney came in here 17 out. He's done an amazing job today in the stages. Sits here riding in 3rd. He doesn't have the car that he had earlier since that contact on pit road with Larson, but he's in that high line. That's a great position to be if he can continue to make the time up there. He'll be able to maintain this 3rd position, Dave.
And they had a quick radio conversation. Big picture, you are plus at that time 12, now 10. And Ryan said, I'm trying, but yeah, I hear you, I hear you. So he knows he's good where he is if he doesn't just bleed points and positions from here on out.
I agree. He just needs to stay exactly where he is. Try not to overstep it and get in that wall. Do not cut down a tire right here at this point in the race. Don't push too hard. Even if we have to give up a spot to Reddick, which we shouldn't, I think this 12 car can make the lap time. He might even have a chance to run down Byron in the last few laps.
We have seen at this racetrack on older tires, there'll be major differences between the car leading and the guy running him down by 3 or 4 tenths of a second. If that's going to happen for Blaney, it needs to happen quick. He ran quicker than Bell that lap.
Bell out in front, now 11.
12 and the 45, running the wall, making time. I'll leave you alone.
11 laps to go. You heard the spotter. I'll leave you alone. Byron running in the 2nd position. Again, we saw earlier the 11 of Denny Hamlin got into the wall. He's out of the infield care center and with Kim.
Yeah, tough day for Denny Hamlin. We saw you get into the wall during that last run. Your team kind of gave you a pep talk and then ultimately you had a mechanical failure. Do you think that initial contact with the wall contributed to the problem that took you out?
Honestly, I didn't hear you. But, I mean, we tried and just didn't work out. And unfortunate for all the Sport Clips team, they really battled back really well today. And, man, it's a tough break.
Tough break for Denny Hamlin, who before that incident was plus 11 to the good, now find himself below the cut line.
16 points below the cut line for Denny Hamlin after the wreck.
Ryan Blaney is coming. He is not done. And look at what he's done, Junior. Look at his entrance into turn 1. He was the fastest car by 3 tenths that lap. He is now using every inch of the racetrack.
9 laps to go. Blaney the fastest.
They're giving him the top of the racetrack down here in 1 and 2. They are not giving him the top of the racetrack in 3 and 4. So as he does get closer to this 24 car, he'll have to measure and make adjustments on what the car is capable of doing up against the wall in 3 and 4.
Blaney 2 and 3 tenths of a second faster than Bell and Byron the last time by. Now he goes down.
Yep, you see he made the adjustment. He knew that if he followed that 24 into the corner, he's liable to hit the fence. So he faded low, run a great corner in 3 and 4 through the middle of the track. Back to the top here.
Still 2 tenths of a second faster than Bell. Oh, Byron up to the racetrack, trying to take that line away. That's going to hurt the 12 car. And that right there allows Christopher Bell to inch out just a little bit.
1.1 seconds the gap now as Blaney goes to the inside of the 24.
He buried that car on the entry to 3 and now draws even to the 24. Byron really struggling here late.
When you talk about risk versus reward, this is where the 12's got to go for it. Just ship it down in there. There you go. Slide in front of William Byron. Now you got a shot.
Is 7 laps enough? 1.2 seconds is the gap back behind Bell.
That lap racing Byron cost him about 4 tenths of a second. That is a lot with only 7 laps to go, but I believe this 12 car is the fastest car on the racetrack.
Definitely faster than Bell the last few laps. We'll see if he can get back into that rhythm. 6 laps remaining.
Reddick now to the inside of Byron as well. Reddick showing good speed right here. He's going to do the same thing, dive down into the corner.
And Blaney ran the same speed as Bell, but remember, he still was completing that pass into turn 1. This will be the first clean lap that he's had.
Top 4 all playoff drivers. Bell, Blaney, Reddick, and Byron. Blaney 1.4 seconds back. Bell putting together great laps. He said that this isn't his favorite track, although everyone has thought that he could be excellent at this racetrack, running right up against the wall. And now Bell decides to go a couple lines down from the fence.
Blaney about just a little bit less than a tenth faster that lap. He's going to make Christopher Bell work for it. He's going to have to earn it.
Less than 5 laps and the gap is closing. 1.2 seconds now for Blaney.
Last week it was Bell running Larson down. Now he's on the other side of that battle. Now it's Bell protecting the lead as Blaney tries to run him down. Bell's best friend might be Tyler Reddick as he inches in on Blaney. Will he get close enough to get the attention of the driver of the 12?
That's a great point. I have a feeling Blaney's not looking in that mirror right now. But Bell's done a great job of picking his pace up.
Coming up on 3 laps remaining. The gap still 1.2, 1.3 seconds. Blaney right up against the wall. 3 laps to go.
Yeah, at that time they broke even. I'm sorry, Blaney just a little bit quicker. Shout out to AJ Allmendinger, also sitting there running 5th.
For a guaranteed spot and a shot at a championship. Bell was there a year ago after his win at Martinsville. Can he lock himself in today in Miami?
Two more good ones here, bud.
2 laps remaining. The gap now increasing. 1.5 seconds for Bell.
Yeah, Bell can be conservative here on his line, not really push it right up against the wall. He's got plenty to give up here if he wants to just kind of take it easy to be able to cruise home.
I feel like Blaney had made the assessment, I can't get to him. And then Blaney said, hey, I can't hit the wall here. I got to get this 2nd place finish, get as many points as possible.
It's 1 lap to go. Presented by Credit One Bank. Christopher Bell didn't run a green flag lap in the top 5 until lap 221. And now, after overcoming a slow pit stop, Christopher Bell goes down the backstretch and he can see a shot at the championship. Christopher Bell off of turn 4. And the 28-year-old is going to lock himself into the championship 4. He's won in Miami.
Okay. Hell of a job, guys. That's why you never give up. Great job, man. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody. You guys are amazing.
2 races in the round of 8 complete, and 2 drivers have locked themselves into the championship 4. This week it's Bell. This checkered flag moment brought to you by Advance Auto Parts, and the crowd appreciative of what they just saw out of Bell. Marty?
Rick, I don't know what it is about this race team to answer when they need to. Last year, the walk-off win, wife Morgan coming in for the hug. They got the win at Martinsville when they needed to last year. Today, Christopher Bell delivers at Miami. And a much deserved hug from the race team. Christopher, how in the world did you and Adam Stevens take a car that was about to go a lap down and turn it into a winning race car?
I've got the best team behind me. I just, honestly, I don't know, man. That race is a whirlwind, and I was ready to throw the towel in there in the second stage, and I got really frustrated on the radio, and Adam kept after it. Adam, Tyler, William, the guys back at the shop are, working over the adjustments, and they gave me what I needed. Whenever we got some clean air, this thing was really good, and just, I cannot say how proud I am to be here with our partners, with Ream and DeWalt, driving these Toyota Camrys. I've been with Toyota since day one, so thank you everyone that supported me. This is better than a dream come true.
Rick, Christopher Bell will now race for a championship under the banner of Joe Gibbs Racing.
And he will also head to Ruoff Mortgage Victory Lane for that celebration to continue with his team. Again, a reminder, the Progressive NASCAR America post-race show will continue on Peacock, as well as more interviews. All smiles, though, for the driver of the 20. There's more NASCAR and motorsports coverage available on NBCSports.com. Post-race coverage continuing on Peacock. Coming up next on NBC, it's local news, except on the West Coast. And later tonight, Football Night in America, followed by the Dolphins and Eagles. Congratulations, Christopher Bell.
Copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our fans for your support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.